right?
Right, Devika.
Devika? Okay, just want to make
Yes.
sure I don't want to butcher it.
Right. And yours is
Devika.
Cristobal?
Yeah, Cristobal.
Cristobal. Okay, dope.
Yeah.
So, Cristobal, I saw that you follow GaryVee. Like, do you consume his content a lot?
I do. I've been following him, I want to say, for about 2.5 years. I got introduced by him by a great friend of mine named Carlos.
Okay.
And ever since then, just been seeing the type of mentor that he is. Like,
Right.
not just in the category of business, but in anything from like celebrities to entertainers to just anyone that's trying to make a better version of themselves and build
Yeah.
themselves. Like, just the way that he talks to you, how to build that mental strength, you know, and like how
Yeah.
to one up yourself always and just be better in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been a huge inspiration of mine, and I started the podcast him like pushing to make content, but I was like, I don't have anything to say, so I was like,
Yeah.
let's start a podcast. But I was like, wait, I have no friends, like who do I call on the podcast? So he really spoke
Yeah.
about just DMing people on Instagram, and just networking with them. So instead of like cold emailing them to build a relationship, you like call them on the
Yeah.
podcast and have like a real conversation, and that's how you start building up your network to do all sorts of stuff.
And to speak more on that, I like that idea. Like when you contacted me, I was like, how does she do these podcasts? And I started seeing they're literally online podcasts through
Yeah.
video. I was like, I've never seen that. That's smart.
Yeah,
That's the first time I've seen something like that. So props to you on that.
Thank you so much. I really had to get very, very creative on, how does one even create content, And because I did not go to college or anything, so I did not have a lot of people around me, new people. And I kept hearing from Gary that, people are the biggest ROI. So I would see a lot of people on Instagram doing just amazing stuff, and I wanted to, speak with them, but cold emailing them is just not the best option. I feel like, people don't respond to emails the way they used to.
Exactly. That's like so like in the past now. Like
Yeah,
100%. Times are changing rapidly.
Yes, and of a podcast, if you have like a full conversation with someone face to face, like visually, it leaves more of an impact than me just writing like a random email to you. You know what I'm saying?
Very true. You get more. I feel like that's the closest you can get to an interaction in person, just through video instead of just texting.
Yeah.
Typing things out.
Yeah, 100%. So I found a lot of my guests earlier through Gary's comment section because everyone who consumes this is kind of in the same mindset. They kind of understand the whole social media game. They understand like the ROI of this, and it's way easier to pick up a conversation and talk about topics with them. So I was very excited to see where you follow Gary.
And just started like venturing more into his YouTube videos, just Instagram videos too, and just seeing like his way of thinking, his perspectives on everything.
Yes.
It's just, to me, that's just crazy how this man thinks, how he carries himself.
Yeah.
And it's just, obviously it takes a lot of practice and things that he's been through, experiences, my apologies, but that's everything. Everything in life is through experience. The more you experience things, the more that it teaches you things. So that man, you can tell, has so much experience in life. And from an early start, like from him hustling like baseball cards and just always having that hustler mentality. And then him foreseeing things like in the industry, like apps or businesses that were going to blow up. And then it's just crazy.
Very, very historically correct about so many things. So many advices he also gives us. I'm like ready to take a hit on it, because there's no one more credible than him, I feel like. And his intent also comes from a good place. It's not like he's a investor in TikTok, so that's why he's pushing it. But he sees that it's working and it's so good for people who, just like emerging into like the whole content space,
Yeah, and it's not only that, like how you said, his intention, it's very pure, it's from the heart. Like he's not your average, and not to like offend any motivational speakers or like talk down on them, but like the way that he does it, it's just straight from the heart. You can tell like everything that he talks to you about is just trying to make you better. Like he's not over here charging you millions of dollars, thousands of dollars to come to seminars and stuff like that. Like he's giving you all this information online, which is free. Like that, to me, in the day that we live in today, the information age, like, and everything that he's giving to people, and for people not to resonate with that and take it in, it's just like it boggles my mind sometimes, because there's so much you can be learning. You don't really need to go to college, like how you're saying. Like everything you can learn online if you really want to.
Yeah, and the amount of content he puts up, it's like a constant, having a mentor where he's not just telling you, like you said, about business, but he's also like educating you on how to be a good person, So
very true.
I mean,
try
I love
to be
that.
a human being. Like,
Yeah,
that's the most important thing, because I feel like we're so disconnected nowadays with social media, because like it has its perks and its cons. But I feel like a majority of the people aren't using it for what it's intended to.
Mm.
And it's exposing people, like how he says as well. It's not really showing like, oh, this is how this person is. Like, no, this is how they've always been. You just didn't have the social media aspect back then.
Right.
You see how they feel. But
yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. So, how did you get started into like photography in the first place?
I love telling this story. It's funny to me. I was in high school. I was like a sophomore, and my mom was always on my ass telling me like, yo, you never make anything for me, like this and that. I see your aunts and your sisters always making like these pots and stuff. So it was a ceramics class that she wanted me to take. So I was like, okay, I'll take the class and I'll make you something. So my freshman year going into my sophomore year, I was applying for classes, and then I come back the fall and they tell me that I couldn't be placed in that class, that I had to be in this yearbook photography because the other classes were full. So that to me, now that I look at it, looking back, it was like destiny in a way, like that had to happen. I'm a believer in like the universe and paths that you take is for a reason. It leads you somewhere. And at first I was just like, I didn't sign up for this class. Like, I don't want to take it. Like, I have no business taking a photography class. Like, that to me back then was just like boring. Like having a camera with all these buttons was just too much for me. I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with that. And even though it was a form of an art class, you know, because I've taken every art class up to that point in high school, because I just love art. And started taking the class, and the teacher told me, he's just like, if you don't want to be in this class, just go up till half the semester, and if you still don't like it, just switch. Because he knew that I'd taken every class too. Like, I was always taking every art class because I've always loved art. But I had never felt complete with any of them. Like, I wasn't a drawer. I couldn't do calligraphy. I couldn't do all these things like paint and stuff like that. But I was always trying to find something I was good at in art. So then the one thing that I was running away from is something that I actually ended up being good at. After staying like half the semester, I started building an eye for it, started falling in love with it. And I just stayed. And then that sophomore year going into my junior year, that summer, I went out and bought a camera, worked like a lame 9-to-5 job out in the fields and stuff like that. Saved up for it, bought it, and then 5 months after that, I just started photographing everything I could, anything and everything from nature, landscapes, people, just anything. And then I go to my first concert like 5 months after that, and I love music. I love hip hop, like in general. That's my go-to, my category. But I'm just like in the front of the pit, like the barricade, and I'm just like looking around, and I see some photographers just like coming up, and they're photographing the artist that's the main event, and I just put two and two together. I was like, music and photography, I was like, I feel like I could do that. Like, that looks fun. Like, I want to do that. That seems like a happy place right there. Like, just something just sparked in me. And then as soon as I got back from that concert, started doing research for like weeks on like how to be a music photographer. What is a music photographer? Like, what do they do? What are the cameras, like lenses? Just the lifestyle to be like, to call yourself a music culture photographer. Started doing that research from there. Just long story short, started linking up with the media outlet out of Seattle, which is a 4-hour drive from where I'm currently at. So when I was in high school, that was big because I was still 17, 16 years old when that media outlet found me. And they took a chance on me, and I started photographing shows for them, doing blogs, and just like learning the basics, like how to be in the music industry without really being in it, just being a part of it. And then after that, I ended up linking up through Twitter with another photographer that was on tour with G-Eazy, and just loving her work, I just like commented. I think I messaged her saying like, I love your work. I'm actually going to be at one of the shows. I really want to meet you. Like, this is what I do as well. And right away, I want to say like within 5 minutes, she replies to me. And I think she looked at my work or like my Instagram, and she's like, yo, here's my number. If you need anything, just let me know. Like, I love your work.
That's so cool.
So I was like, what the heck? Like, that's crazy. So then after that, we just kept in contact, and then she was supposed to be coming to the show here in Spokane. This was back in like 2017, I want to say, but she got sick, and I was going to go to that show too, just as a guest, like I said. But then I was like, what if I could shoot that show? Like, just like thinking way out there, I was like, what if she gave me the opportunity to photograph that show? So literally the night before the show, I sent her a message saying, I know you're not going to be here. Like, if by any chance, could I shoot the show and get the photos to you so you guys can upload them? Because she was a part of the Easy Season page. She's one of the co-founders of that page. I don't know if you follow it. It's like a really big fan page for G-Eazy. And I just sent her the message. She tells me, like, email this contact right away, and they'll have a pass for you probably by tomorrow. So I was like, okay, perfect. Email that contact. I get a pass right the next day, and I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. Because I had shot shows before, but this was like my first big one, like for a major artist.
Yeah. And was she like officially a part of G-Eazy's team?
What was that?
Was she officially a part of G-Eazy's team, or was she like just a third-party photographer for the concert?
She was a part of, like, she was doing stuff for them from, like, because the way she explains it to me, how she started getting into that field as well was before G-Eazy really blew up when he was first coming up. She'd go to like every show, and it went from her just being a fan to always asking like, "Can I help you guys with anything?" From like moving merch boxes to like some paperwork stuff, little things like that, to photographing. And like she just became like in that group, in that circle. By the time that I had met her, she was already in the circle, like as one of like the newbies. I'd like to say something like that, but she was already in that circle. She knew everybody. So then I go and photograph the show, come back, and this was when I was barely starting college too, like for photography and everything, because I had been teaching myself up to that point when I came to college, and I didn't even know how to use the softwares for Lightroom or Photoshop, nothing. So the next day, because she gave me a time frame, a window. She's just like, from the day that you shoot the show, the next day I need the photos by 7 p.m. So I was like, okay. So literally, I wake up the next day, I go on YouTube, and like how I said, you can learn anything nowadays. YouTube, best teacher. I literally watched Lightroom videos for like an hour or 2 hours and taught myself how to use the software just good enough to edit photos. Like a bit, just to learn the basics of it. Got the photos done on 7 on the dot, sent them to her. She messaged me like an hour later telling me, she's like, "You took these photos?" I was like, "Yeah, I took them." She's like, "They're really good. This and that." She just like, she tells me, she's like, "We're actually gonna publish them on the website with your credential on it so people can see it." And that to me was like a big accomplishment in such little time for me. Like when I started because I didn't start taking photography seriously till 2016, and then right the next year after that happened. So then.
But you also like just went for it, you know. You had all the reason to be kind of scared and think like, you know, why would she even respond to me? But you just went for it, you know.
But it's just like you got to take those risks, no matter how small or how big they are. And I was just having a conversation about this with a friend yesterday too. Like no matter how big or how, like how I said, how big or how small the risk is, you never know where it can lead. You can't go with it with an expectation, because that's where most opportunities die. Because there's opportunities everywhere. You just can't look at the expectation, because someone may say like, "Oh, I see this opportunity, but this is the outcome of it." But you got to think of it like, what if it's greater than that in that moment? You never know. Like life is full of surprises. You just got to take every opportunity. So that was just me like reaching out, going out of my way. The worst thing that could have happened was, "Oh no, you can't." It's not like I'm gonna die just because of hearing a no. Like, keep it moving, you know. It's just like, okay, on to the next opportunity. But I saw it as that. That's what came back, and then from there, I ended up like talking to her more, keeping in contact. And I ended up finding out that she owned a music magazine. It's an independent music magazine called Ellis Music Magazine. And on the person that I'm speaking about, like, shout out to her. Her name is Danielle Ellis. She's really dope, really awesome. It's the type of person that takes chances on anyone that's trying to come up and do something through the music culture as a photographer, and helps them like create a platform for themselves too with that magazine. And I ended up signing up to be a part of it. I ended up meeting her like 2 or 3 months after I signed to be a part of it. I was in Colorado shooting a show with her for G-Eazy again, which is at the Denver venue. I forget, Red Rocks, that big venue that's up in the mountains. So I met her there. And then she told me that I was officially part of the magazine and everything. And the way that they introduced me to the world was a cover photo that I had taken of Marky Basie, and it was the front cover of the magazine. So that to me was just crazy. It was dope. I was just like, man, this is crazy. Like I know, like the little things like that were happening at such an early stage were just like, I know this is the route that I'm supposed to be in. Like this is my lane. This is the world I'm supposed to be a part of. So ever since then, just been chasing that high, you could say, of like making those accomplishments, no matter how big or how small. But
wow,
I'm blessed. Like it's the more that I talk about it, when I hear it through my voice, it's just like you're on the right track, no matter where you're at right now. Like there's better things coming, because there's times where I feel like not just myself, but anybody can feel stuck. And it's like things aren't moving for me, or I did this, but this is the last thing I did. But it's just like, no, man. As long as you're investing in yourself, little by little, and taking the time each day to like work towards the dream, like you're getting far, like you're staying ahead, no matter whether it's you getting published somewhere or getting that little win or studying the craft that you're in. Like you're always staying ahead, you're advancing, even when you don't think you are. Because once you step out of your door, you feel like you're here, but then you're out there in the world and you're actually up here. But,
Yeah,
you know?
100%. Yeah. Never think like that because the two of the things I'm so impressed by, listening to you is number one, you're an executor, it's not just a person who's dreams, I want to do this, but you going ahead and,
Yeah.
just doing shit, whether it's small or big, and that eventually is a snowball effect that leads to other opportunities, right? So a person
Correct.
might
Yeah.
compare their level 1 to your level 10, but the fact is that you, even taking that small step, like, hey, I love your work, just acknowledging that
Yeah.
without wanting anything in return, that led to something so much more that you couldn't even have expected initially. And
And I
second
feel
thing
like,
that I'm hearing is, sorry, the second thing I'm hearing is, you essentially are such a good person, like Gary talks about, self-awareness and stuff, you know what you want, you know what you don't want, and how you're so
That's
much
big.
even working on yourself. Like, there's always going to be something I believe is like hard work always beats talent, which is,
Yeah.
there's always going to be a better photographer, there's always going to be a better musician. But why someone would want to work with you is like, they would bet on you as a person, like your core qualities, like your character, your like values, and what moves you and stuff.
Yeah.
That is something that I cannot really replace so easily, you know?
You can't. It's first and foremost is knowing who you are, like how you
Yeah.
just mentioned. That once you know that, you start finding out why you're here. What is your purpose? Once you find that out,
Yeah.
you start moving accordingly to what that purpose is, because now you know your morals, your values, and what you want to do, and you'll stand on that.
Yeah.
So it gives you that armor to fight for what it is that you want and what you want to do and how you want to do it. Because every person's different. Just in my field, there's thousands of creatives, artists. They all move differently with what they want to do. Some want to be this, some want to be that.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. No one's the same. And if you're trying to be like someone, then that's like why, there's you.
Yeah.
Like, just be you, and that's what makes you stand out. Like, another thing that I've always hear in this is just like knowing how to stand out, because there is a lot of people in this. And the biggest thing that I've heard from people that are higher than me, that are in better positions, bigger positions right now, are just like, the only way to stand out is being yourself. You gotta know who you are and just be that type of light will radiate, and it'll get you so far just being you. And I've realized that. I see it, like, just whenever I'm with an artist or just backstage with them or just with their team of like videographers and photographers, like they notice that you'll be remembered just for being who you are and just being your true self. And like it's more character than anything, just being real, not trying to put up a front or wall or just trying to act like something you're not, because no one likes it at the end of the day. Like, you're just wasting your time at the end of the day.
100%. But I feel like people struggle with that because, for you to be in that position, you have to be so in tune with yourself, where you're able to actually trust your judgment. You're able to trust, like, I'm good. Like, even me having flaws, or me not being good enough, or me not having enough talent, but you still having, like, trust and confidence in yourself. Like, I don't know what I bring to the table in terms of, like, skill set or something, but I do know what I bring right now, And I feel like that's, like, one of the biggest things that works out.
And that's true, because it's not like I went into it already having it. Like, this is built. It has been being built. The confidence and self-awareness. Like, it's through the books of like reading, through being around a new circle of people that are nothing but positive, that push you, to be the best you that you can be. And this is all with, I want to say, already 3 to 4 years of me like shifting everything in my mind, and like a new paradigm of learning like who I am and what I'm here for, stuff like that. But like going back to what you're saying, like I remember when I first started like going to shows and like being around the people like that put on the shows and like are the mastermind of it all. I remember I'd be so quiet and try to know what to say, because I didn't want to step out of line or say something dumb and then be like, why is this kid even here? Like, but it goes back to that you can't be afraid of that. You have to be able to, like, you have to. The only way you're going to get hurt is if you open your mouth. Like, you can't just be a fly on the wall, just back there. And just snapping photos. So that's weird in itself, too. Like, you got to actually go up to the person, shake their hand. How you doing? This is my name. What's your name? Things like that. Like, it's those little things that make such a huge difference. And I see people struggle with that as well, which is, it's not to like put it in a bad way, but it's just like when you can go up to someone, look them in the eye, shake their hand, how are you doing? How's your day going? Like, that makes a huge difference. You can just see the tension and someone's shoulders just go down. Because you're just being genuine, you're just having a conversation. Because I feel like with artists too, the last thing they want to hear is just like, yo, can I get a photo with you? This and that.
Yeah.
It's just like, dude, like these people are human too. Like they hear that every day. They want like, can you sign this for me? Like, let me take a photo of you. This and that.
Yeah.
And then you throw them off when you just ask them, how's your day going? You know, how was the drive up? How was the flight? This and that. Like little things like that. That's how I try to stand out. Just being like just genuine, like treating you as a friend or like.
Yeah.
I don't see you as an artist. I just see you as another human being.
Yeah, I love that. You know, I feel like the biggest thing in like your industry is like building relationships. You know, how does that's crazy, and that's like one of the biggest like skill sets. So even if there's a better like photographer than you, there'll always be versa. But if people fuck with you on your vibe and how you roll and stuff, they'll always want you around. You know, because at the end of the day, everything is so stressful that you want good people who like vibe with everything that's going on smoothly around you. Then you're like a really random like but technically good person. You know.
And that stands true because just 2 weeks ago I was at another show in Seattle for shout out Ryan Carvel, really dope artist. I suggest checking him out. Anyone that's watching this, that's gonna watch this, Ryan Carvel. My friend Chase Spade got me into the show, and I went from seeing that guy Ryan open up for like barely 100 people to selling at a venue just 2 weeks ago. Within like a 2-year span, 3-year span, and that to me was crazy. But anyways, to speak about what you just said about how it's all energy and like the people you're around, it has to be all aligned. I told him at the end of the show, I was like, yo, thank you once again, you know, for having me, being here. Like, it's cool, you know, like it's been a while, like great catching up with you. And all he said was just like, man, he's like the reason why like the people that are backstage is because I fuck with all of you. Like, you guys are dope. Not only are you guys good at what you do, but you guys have dope personalities. Like, and that's just that. Yeah, you can only have people around you that are bringing the best out in you and make it feel right. You know, and that's true. Like, energy's big. You gotta always have that on check. Always be checking on that with the people around you.
Yeah. And how do
one little thing to throw everything off?
No. I love that. You know, I feel like a lot of these things are somehow overlooked upon. You know. You'll hear a lot of like, hey, how to be a good photographer, you know, these and these techniques. But how many people are talking about, you know, the person you're photographing? How do you vibe with them? You know, how do you make them comfortable? For someone who's very, very camera conscious, how do you get them, you know, to really like their photograph and things like that, you know? Overlooked, but I feel like they're so important, and in like the biggest way they leave the most impact, you know. And I feel like the bigger the person career wise, they're well more aware of how skill sets you can always like get anywhere, but this is so rare, you know. So that's what
very true.
And how did you connect with Jay Park? You know, how did you get him as a client?
Okay, check this out. I was just thinking about that yesterday. I was like, how did that even happen? So it wasn't even like connecting with him. Like, I was just at the show, and once again, shout out my homie Chase Spade. If anyone doesn't know who he is, he's a really badass videographer / photographer from Seattle. He's gone on tour with Dreamville, tours with Boss and stuff like that. So very cool, genuine individual.
Yeah.
He got me into that show. So that was on a Thursday, right? And like, I wasn't even gonna go to the show. I was gonna go to a show that Thursday to Canada for Ryan Carvel, the one artist that I just mentioned. And Chase told me, he's like, bro, don't even worry. Like ditch the show in Canada. You'll go to the one in Seattle the next day on Friday for Ryan, because that's where his tour was gonna end, in Seattle. So he's like, just come to this Macintosh show, because Macintosh was the one that put on that show, the one that Jake Park was in.
Okay.
And so he tells me, just come to this show on Thursday. Like, Macintosh is gonna be there, and he tells me, because we were just FaceTiming. He's just like, Jay Park is gonna be there. And
do you know who Jake Park was?
Like, no, so I didn't, because he tells me, he's just like, come to this Macintosh show. He's like, Jake Park is gonna be there. Don't tell anybody. And I was like, bro, who's Jay Park? And he looks at me. He's just like, are you fucking kidding me? And I was like, I don't know who Jay Park is, bro. I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be up on this already, but I don't know who he is. And he's just like, just go look him up. Go watch an interview. He's like, you'll see him tomorrow. I was like, all right, cool. We go to the show. We're doing everything, shooting photos backstage, shooting the show.
Yeah.
And he's like the special guest. Like, no one knows that he's supposed to be there. So he comes out, does this thing, and like, we're just photographing him on stage, doing all that. And I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, I like his sound. Like, he's very different. You know, like the sound, his tone of voice and everything. It's just dope. And once again, I knowing who this guy is, I'm just walking. Because, like, once he got done with his set, like his little, like 2 songs that he did, 3 songs, he just walked off. And you'd think an artist that, now that I know how big he is, you'd think he'd just kind of like kick it backstage or leave, but he was actually in the crowd, just having a drink, like talking with fans and stuff like that, just hanging out, you know, just
So
doing
cool.
normal people shit. Yeah. And I'm like walking around the venue and I see him. And like it wasn't more of like, oh, I want to photograph you just to have it. I just liked like what he was wearing, like the style, because I'm into fashion as well, and like capturing that.
Sorry.
And I was like, I like the stussy that he's wearing with like the Louis Vuitton and then like his chain, just the tattoos, like they look mean.
Yeah.
So I like, as he's just kind of watching the show, I come up to him, I tap him on his shoulder, he turns around, I shake his hand, tell him my name, and he tells me his name, and I just told him, I was like, man, I like your fit, like dope performances. What was it cool if I get a quick portrait of you just right over here? He's like, yeah. He's like, let's go get it done. So he just did that.
Yeah.
Asked him how his night was going and everything. Got a couple snaps, showed him to him, and it's just like, cool, man, just give them to me whenever you can. I was like, for sure. So I get done with the show, I edit that whole set, and then I start sending everyone the Dropbox link to the photos.
Yeah.
I sent it to his DM because I messed up that night too. I didn't get his contact info. There's always a time I forget that. I'm always good about that, but that night it didn't happen. And I end up sending it to him. He never replies. Like he hadn't opened it. I was all right, cool. Like I'll just get his attention another way. I'll just post the photo and tag him.
Yeah.
See what happens. I wasn't even thinking anything of it. It was just another post. Like if they see it, they see it. If not, that's cool. Like I'm just posting it to post it.
Yeah.
And I was gonna post the three photos all at once, but I was like, no, I'm just gonna do this one as a stand-up. Like this one looks nice. Like just that portrait of him with the tattoos.
Yeah.
I posted it, put my phone down because I think I was with family. I'm not even thinking about it. Post it, get it out the way.
Yeah.
I come back like an hour later and he reposts it, tags me on it. And not only that, posts it on his Instagram story. And that was the last thing he posted, so that was what everyone was seeing. The photo on his page and the last Instagram story, which had both my tags on it, my handle.
Yeah.
So from there, as soon as I open Instagram, you just see like 40 comments. Just keep going, it just kept going. And then likes on likes on likes, people commenting it, people reposting it on his fan pages. I didn't realize how many fan pages this guy had.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. And then from those fan pages, more people are coming in.
Yeah.
I shit you not, I can send you the screenshot. My profile went from having, I think the most I ever had views was like 530.
Yeah.
But that specific week, my views were like at 200. And like I'm not one to like, I don't care about numbers. I care about the craft. Like the craft will always speak.
Yeah.
You know all that. But just yesterday, I checked the numbers. I'm at 8,200 and something views.
Wow.
Just because of him posting that. So like, shout out to him for doing that because he didn't.
Yeah, he
obviously
didn't have to.
Like if he wanted, he didn't have to post if he didn't want to. Obviously, he fucked with it.
Yeah.
And not only that, he gave credit because a lot of artists don't give credit, which is whack.
Yeah.
And that was just dope on his part because like I thank him for that because like that brought in so much traffic into my page. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna post these next photos just so people can see it. But after that, I just kept posting, just so the people that were like going in and out could see what my work was about.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like a little moment right there. That just was, I want to say 5 days ago. Yeah.
That was amazing. That was so cool. And I love that, about him. I'm so impressed by him. I found out about him very recently. Like, I knew of him as an artist, but somehow I had stumbled upon, because he looks cool and stuff. So every artist...
He's got a dope style. That's what, Like,
he's crazy, like his vibe and everything. I really like that about him. And he's very, like, hip-hoppy, And I love hip-hop music. So every time I love an artist, I just have to get into, like, all the details. I would have to watch his interviews, his story, and everything. And J-Pac's music is cool, but him as a person is just so impressive. How smart he is. His story, how he started to where he is, him being rejected, being thrown out of a label, to him creating two of his own labels. And like, just that amazing... I've even seen his interviews. He's so articulate and smart about things, and very humble, and small things, like him tagging you and stuff. That's a huge thing, He did not have to do that.
The smallest thing goes such a long way.
Yeah. So it was so cool to, just, I don't know, man. Something I love about hip-hop is, even if you do not know the artist per se, just listening to their music, because it's so much of like a storytelling vibe, you can understand the artist, like Nav. Or coming back to that, like, give me your top 5 artists.
Dang, I never thought I was gonna get asked this on the spot. Top 5 for me, right off the top of my head, and not in any order.
Yeah.
would be obviously Nipsey Hussle, as for the business side of things.
Yeah.
Another artist, Larry June from the Bay Area. That's healthy right there. That's the healthiest rapper in the game. So Nipsey, Larry. Then you got Logic has always been a big one for me since like early high school. So that's already three.
Yeah.
Let's see who else is. Dave East is another one. Dave East is someone that I really want to work with. And last one's always the hardest. Russ. It has to be Russ. And as much as people hate on Russ, I don't understand it. I don't get it. To me, I feel like people have low self-esteem, and that's not their type of music. Because how can you hate on someone that's giving you nothing but game, like on how to do things, like keys to success, if you want to say, like.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Everyone to each their own. Everyone has an opinion, so I'm not hating.
But for some reason, now all the artists you mentioned, somehow I feel like they also have so much of like character in them as a person.
Yeah.
But there are people who just make like dope music. That's them. But then there are people who make great music and are also like great people. And with the interviews and
to the culture.
Right, like Logic and Russ, all these guys, they made it by themselves. But at the same time, their effort to help others who are trying to make it, not just in the music industry, but like in general, it really shows, they go out of the way to, like post a picture of a book, like a page and recommending your shit. Where, like you said, they talk about the business game, how, like, being somehow consuming their content empowers you to get your shit done,
But not only that, if you look at every artist that I just mentioned, like, if you look at their branding, their brands, how big that they've become, like, that's a staple, like, that. It goes back to what like Logic said in the song. I think it was in the song 44 Bars, where he says people aren't even buying music anymore. They're buying brands because they want to feel a part of something. It's that exclusivity and that whatever this brand is bringing. Like, think about the biggest brands in the world, like Nike, you have Adidas, you have Apple. Like, why do people invest so much money into that? Because that's that exclusivity. They want to feel a part of something big, and those brands are big. And like, to be able to do that in the music culture, like, that to me is wild. Like, how artists nowadays are building brands and like profiting off of them. Like, the biggest thing you can do in music is profit off merch and touring.
Yeah.
If you have a strong clothing brand as an artist, like, you're set.
100%.
People are always going to buy into that. They want to be a part of it.
Yeah. I feel like this was like the most craziest statistic that I heard, which was I love watching YouTube. So one of the people I really admired was Jake Paul, and I know people hate on him, but I really, really respect him as a business person. So I remember he was on this business channel called CNBC, and where they were like just kind of making fun of him, like this little kid is here giving his interview and things like that. But he's so smart, and you just like, because he's always in like such a character of entertaining kids. Very few times you see him is glimpses of him as a business person, how his mind works about the whole industry. So you mentioned that if you get 1 million views and the average conversion rate is 5%, so if you have so many followers, or even if you do an ad, if 1 million people watch it, the most average conversion rate, like people who actually end up paying for something, is 5%. And if if like a hoodie of yours is for $20, you're automatically in the 7-figure range. And that was the time, and he was pulling like mad views, like 15, 16 million views, and on an everyday basis. So for an average person, if it's 5%, for someone who's that influential, that percentage keeps getting stronger, Like Kylie Jenner, she's huge following, right? Her product was actually really, really good that people really vibe, But there are some people who just would have a hoodie and like just slap a meme on it, right? People would still get that. But if your product's actually great, like for a concert, that's how those numbers, everyone listening to you, that's how it translates into dollars and dollars, And the more influential you are, the higher your conversion rate is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's going back to what you just said. There's an artist that says that in the line. He says, turning words into dollar signs, study my example, which is King Lo G. That is another artist that I have to put in my top 5. It would have to change from like Russ and him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. Like, as an artist, if you can do that, like how you just said, like turning your words into dollar signs, just things that you're saying, like, that's crazy.
That is essentially wild. A brand, and that's why I feel like so much with music is For me, I'll just give you a little background. You know, like I love hip hop and I love music. It moves me to some other level. That's why listen to your story is so interesting. You know, you love music, but
Thank
you're not an artist. You're not a producer. You're just something so different, but still at the same industry where you're giving so much value to the industry. You know, you can actually make an
you. Yeah.
impact in the hip hop culture. For me, I loved it, but I never knew what my skill set was. You know, like what is it exactly that I bring to the table? You know, I know I love
Yeah.
it. I know that I'm so deeply interested in it because I would like just get down to the details of it so bad. You know, the business side of it and even like culturally. But somehow I would not be able to. You know, like I wasn't a singer, I wasn't a dancer, I wasn't like a producer or whatever.
Yeah.
So there was always this hole that like how do
That
my
void that needed to be filled.
right, like my passion,
Yeah.
everything that's in my head, what does it translate to? Like your thing
Yeah.
translates into a picture, a video, some kind of product, your craft, which you're
Something where you
honing.
can just create, because we're creators.
Right.
We're meant to create.
Right.
You know.
And I feel like somewhere that was missing. So listen to your story, which is so interesting. And coming back to that, that's why I was very, very curious of um, if you were put in like a situation where you just had to photograph, but it wasn't maybe in like the hip hop, like in the music industry, would you still be as like excited about to do that?
I mean, not as excited, no, but I still get it done. There's still a sense of creating, which is beautiful to me because I can still do something and create something out of it and create something beautiful. So because like I said, I've done more other things than just that. Like I've done, like I said, portraits, lifestyle things. I've shot a wedding, all that stuff, but nothing brings me that same like spark or happiness as when I'm in a music venue or with an artist and like talking to them and just capturing the culture for what it is. Because to me, what like the ambition of it is to be the greatest music photographer that I can be in the music industry. I'm not trying to be better than no one else or that. Like everyone's their own best self in what they're doing. So like for me, it's just I'm just competing with myself. And along the way, I've been meeting a lot of dope people, a lot of great people that make it more of a challenge, like a friendly challenge. Like, I see what you're doing. Like, I want to be like, let's see how far we can get it.
Yeah.
And to me, like the biggest thing too is just knowing the fact that when it's all said and done, like my images will be a part of the culture. Like that to me is crazy. Like that is a beautiful thing to just even like think about. That once I'm gone, like these photos will live on, whether it be the artists that I've already photographed or the artists I have yet to photograph and work with. That to me is dope. It's badass. I love it.
And when you met with Jay Park and stuff, were you able to somehow secure contact? Because he actually is from Seattle. So if you were...
He is from Seattle. I know people that know him personally.
Yeah.
But like directly towards him, I didn't. And to this day, I'm just like, it's whatever. But I mean, I know it'll come around again. That opportunity, I'll see him again. And it'll be even better because I can actually talk to him about something and be like, you know what, thank you for what you did. That one time, like, this is what happened because of it. It led up to this. This is how you found me for this interview. Like that in itself is crazy. I was like, he told me about it. I was like, hell yeah, I want to fucking do it. Like first online interview. Like why not?
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you so
those
much
little
for
things. But yeah.
That's crazy.
Let me ask you something real quick.
Yes, please.
Your top 5.
My top 5. The first one would be Nav. Love him. He's like the first artist that I actually got into hip hop properly.
Really?
Yes, and he's so underrated because I'm a very lyrical person. Like for me, if I'm really vibing with something, it has to be the lyrics, that means so much to me. And he was just so spot on with his relatability, like it was crazy for me. The first time I think I heard his On My Own and Up and this kind of music, and I was like, wait, these are not just things that sound good. But these were things that genuinely I was able to shift something in me, for some weird reason. It was like, if he can do it, I can do it, Like, if I felt like, I remember this so crazy, That's why I love him because I remember there was time when I was just sitting in my room and staring at a wall. And I was like, I'm so stuck. There are times where I know exactly what I'm doing. There are times where I feel I'm so stuck. I have no idea what to do. And I remember him sharing this in a song, which is Freshman List, where he said, I felt like I was in my, like, he said something along the lines of, when he was making beats and stuff, he never felt like he would get out of that, loophole, just in his room, just making beats, producing for other people. Small things like that. Snap's been such a big one. Then it's recently a lot of new guys. Lil Baby.
Okay.
I heard his song Global, which was amazing. Love this.
Yeah.
Then it's Roddy Rich. I really like
Oh
Roddy
man,
Rich.
he is buzzing right now. That
Yeah,
dude's
he's great.
crazy, and he's only 21.
Yeah, I found his music like almost a year ago or something with where he wasn't that popular like he is now.
Yeah.
But essentially, like people's intent doesn't change. So whatever they're producing their music about, even though it's popping now, but they were always the same
Yeah.
person, and that's where the music kind of comes out of. So Roddy Rich,
Yeah. Heck yeah.
and then
He's gonna blow up.
he will. He's just super cool. But somewhere
Once
I
he
feel like
masters his voice. Because like
yeah,
it's not that he's like, think about it. He has a badass voice,
yeah,
and he's so young still. I feel like he's still on that point where he's like learning like how to master that instrument.
yeah,
Because once you have it and you have it down,
yeah.
with whatever you do with it, like it's gonna stand out tremendously.
Something about just specifically rap music because it's so much about the lyrics. It cannot be you just. I mean, we have songs which have like the same fucking chorus 3 times in the whole ass song, but
Yeah.
for me, it was so much about storytelling. Where the listener feels somehow where they're connected by sound. Like I went through this. This is how I overcame, and you can do it too. And that's why people who listen to it are so heavily invested into it. And hip hop, that is why it started the whole culture of, like even the clothes you're wearing, the haircuts everyone has, every single thing. Because it all became a big game of authenticity, like how I was not accepted, then I went through the struggle, then I made it. So even if people might not have those specific, like they necessarily does not mean you're from the streets and you were ill-treated,
Yeah.
but you're still from a family where you weren't really accepted. You still had to go through these struggles and you made it. So it becomes a whole movement of, we're in this together. And that's why I feel like it's such a smart game, the way you're writing your lyrics, how it's moving, how it's impacting. You know what I'm saying?
The penmanship is crazy. That's the biggest sword, the most strongest sword.
Yeah, because you can always have a catchy song like fucking Lil Pump or some shit. Like he's good, but I mean that's not the kind of shit I fuck with it. But yeah, it's gonna get pop and people are gonna really vibe with it. But for me, it does not change anything for me. You know what I'm saying? Like it does not shift something
I mean, like,
in
there's
me
a time and
mentally or
place for
something.
all that type of music, but like, I get what you're saying. Like, where you fall in the category where you listen to is more of that lyrical conscious. Like, it's gonna
Yeah.
teach me something. I'm gonna learn something that I can apply for
Yeah,
myself and the things that I
for
want
sure.
to do.
And the fourth
Yeah.
one would be Post Malone.
Oh, okay.
And the fifth
Okay.
is I listen to a lot of Korean music, so the fifth one would be BTS.
BTS. Okay. Nice. Nice. That's a variety right there. I like that.
Yeah, I love. They're so similar with the whole lyrical thing, and the way they've been able to grow their business. Now they're $140 million company. They started from zero back in 2010, and now it's a decade later. I love their CEO, the way he thinks, the way he's creating shit. It's gonna be bigger than anyone can imagine. Even right now, people feel like they're the Beatles or some shit, but they're barely getting started. So that's why I got really, really into it.
Damn. That's crazy. Man, music is wild to me. I don't know, like the fact how just hip hop, how they said that hip hop was never going to be like the genre, like a big genre, and then when it surpassed pop, like
Yeah.
hip hop is everywhere. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. You can't like
Yeah, it's the
anywhere you
realest
look,
shit for some
it's
reason.
a
I feel
part
like
of
all
everyone's
the
life now.
yeah, a lot of music that was created was, it needs to sound a certain way, like, oh, I'm going through a heartbreak and this is, but there are only so many people who went through a heartbreak. But then there's this whole big world of people who just struggling with themselves. And I feel like there was a
Yeah.
big void which hip hop filled over there. And it was also like, these are all people who were one of us. So they necessarily weren't from like a label. It wasn't like a big marketing campaign that threw them off. There were so many music videos that just went viral. Like there's this guy, Rich Brian, and things like that. You feel like these guys are one of us. You just work hard. It's just the most organic shit ever. Put your shit on SoundCloud, put it on Spotify. You're good. People like you. You boom. There's no big marketing budget involved to like get you out there.
And it's the artists that are the biggest are the ones that I feel like are the most vulnerable too. Like how you said, it's just organic. They're just themselves. Everything that they're doing is out of pure like intent. Like it's all heart. It's pure. It's just pure. They're not putting up a front, an image. It's just them. And people will always be drawn to that no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a story of who you are and where you're at now. Like that's the biggest thing.
One of the questions we ask everyone on the podcast is, are you happy?
Am I happy? Fuck yeah, I'm happy. I'm blessed. Like, I feel like, obviously I'm not where I want to be in life as of right now, but I know I'm getting there. Like, that's part of the journey. Like, I could have been, something worse could have happened to me. I could not be here right now. Like, let's just be honest. Like, it's just a blessing to be able to wake up every day and then live another day, just to open your eyes. That's the greatest gift right there as soon as you start the day, just to be able to look at your ceiling. And just thank God, thank you, or whatever it is that anyone believes in or what they believe in. Just thanking that higher power of, like, thank you for getting me up today. Like, that's another gift, another opportunity at this game of life, and to be able to play it. And like I said, I'm not where I want to be, but just knowing that I'm healthy, physically, mentally, and spiritually, and that I'm thankful for not being the person I used to be, because I'm a new person every day. I'm constantly growing. My mind's changing. It's growing as well. So it's just the little things that I see in my life that keep me grounded and happy, that let me know, like, because you have to have gratitude. You have to be grateful with the things that you have right now, because how can you expect to get more if you're not even grateful with what you have right now? And that's a perspective that I try to make everyone see, and the people around me, that they know that. Like, you got to be content. And then it's not like be content with what you have now, but always seek more. Always work towards more. Because that's the biggest thing, like.
It gets really
difficult. That could be worse.
Sometimes.
I could be homeless. Like, I'm thankful I'm not that. Like, every day that I wake up and when I go to bed, I'm always thanking God for the roof over my head, the bed I get to lay on, the blankets that cover me, the clothes that I get to wear, the water I get to drink, the food I get to eat, the people that have came in and out of my life that have taught me things, and the ones that are still here, it's for a reason, because I need them. If you're around me and I keep you and I say I love you, it's because I need you. And that's just that. So my life is dope. It's blessed, and I can't wait to see what down the road has for me. So I'm just moving accordingly, and always talking to the universe. So
I love that. And then another question we touched on, because I do not know anyone that comes on my podcast. It's like the first time we have a whole ass conversation. And one of the reasons for that was, in my mind, I felt like all of us were so similar, irrespective of how different all of us were. Like you and I, from different countries, different time zones. English is not even my first language. But yet we're all so similar, essentially all chasing the same things, whether it's relationship, health, financial stuff, or, you're dealing with happiness. And that is what we connect on, instead of thinking, oh my God, like that this is me in a box and this is the world. But once you understand, like how everyone's the same, and if you can, like just pick up that similarities, like you said, you will look at an artist as a human being instead of, this really far off thing that's something, it becomes so much more easier, and your environment is like just so much more happier, that everyone's building and struggling together. And the podcast is called Building Community. So that's what it was about, like all of us helping each other out. Like both of you and I, we're gonna fight for like our lives, whatever we wanna be, but somehow together, so whatever struggles we have, somehow we know that there's someone who's going through the same shit, feels stuck, but overcomes it, and like just even hyping each other up when it's necessary, and things like that. So coming back to the thing, the question we ask people is, what's your story? Like just you as a person, what is up?
Like, what's my story? Like, what's...
Yes.
Like, as me, as, like, aside from the photography and all that?
Aside. Like just you as a person, like, what is your story?
So my story, as me as a person, I come from a background of a middle-class family. I'm Mexican. My parents were born in Mexico. I was born in the U.S. I come from my household. My parents have never learned how to read or write. But what I love about who they are, it goes back to like everything that I've talked about, that they know how the world works and everything. They're just in tune. The biggest thing that my dad has always said, he's just like, I may not be able to read or write, but I do have common sense. And that's what's gotten me this house that we have, these cars that we get to drive, the health that we have, and the happiness that we're living, because I know how to move. So that to me, it just boggles my mind, because you live in the U.S. and you don't know how to like read or write, but you've still done so much for yourself and the family. And I mean, you've gotten me to better positions too. Like, I moved out, I'm living on my own, things like that. So that to me is just, it just lets you know, if if you have common sense and you have work ethic, you can do anything. So that's an example that I use when I'm moving with the things that I want to do. I always think about them. Like, if they can do it, like, I can definitely do it too.
Wow.
Coming from that, I have a sister as well, stepsister, same mom, different dads. I've always been, like how I told you, I've always been into art. And, like, growing up, like, in my mind, I always had this voice telling me, like, you're meant for something bigger. At a young age, which just sounds weird, but, like, I can still remember, I still hear that voice, and I've always kept it with me. It's always followed me through my age and stuff as I've grown.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just feel like everything that I'm doing is for something bigger. Like, at the end of the day, I feel like right now, I'm trying to be that, not even a role model, but just show the people back at home. Because I come from a super small town. Like, my graduating class was like, to do the things that you want to do in this life, whether you have a dream. Maybe you don't even want to go to college. Maybe you're trying to do something in it that's in art, whether it be dancing, painting, just something that allows you to create. Like, I just want to be able to turn around and tell someone while doing it, not just saying that. You know, just talking about, like, being that example of, like, it's possible. Look at the things that I've done, but this is what comes with it too. It's a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of failing. You'll see more failures than you do success. Yeah. You can go through, like, X amount of failures for this one moment of success, and then you gotta know that there's more to do, because after that, it's just like, what's next now? You gotta keep trying to outdo yourself, better yourself, and most importantly, have goals for yourself. What is it that you want to do? Yeah. But yeah, that's me. I'd like to say that I'm pretty laid back, chill. I'm an open book. Whatever you want to know, I'll tell you. I only speak on the things that I know and things that I've experienced, or else I won't speak on it, because that just makes me fake. I don't know.
Yeah. I see you have paper stuck in the back. You know? What is that about?
What was that?
I see you have paper stuck at the back. Are those your goals and affirmations and stuff?
Those are, like, if you want to see them, come here, check it out.
Sure.
Just to let people know it's real.
Okay.
Make sure this. Oh. I can see this. So this is just, like, the self-confidence formula that I've always read. And it just goes through the steps of, like, the things that you tell yourself until you engrave them in your head. Yeah. And the things that I desire, which is, like, acquire over $190 million by the time I'm 42 years old. And the exact date will be on my birthday, which is 2040. Yeah. And what I'm doing it for, giving the earnings to my mother, sister, and her family, helping the rest of the family, building. Oh, I actually want to build an art school back in my hometown when I have all the things that I need.
By any chance, did you read How Think and Grow Rich?
What was that?
By any chance, did you read Think and Grow Rich?
I did.
That's where it's from.
That's where it's from. That's on the game right there. That's it. I love that book.
I had the same thing written, and it has a very specific format of how you write things, and that's why I was able to, like, completely recognize.
Think and Grow Rich is the Bible. Like, that's the Bible right there.
Yeah.
Another book that's my Bible that has shaped my way of thinking, and I recommend everyone to read it, because when I was going through, like, a really dark time last year, like, just depression and anxiety, like, bad, and a friend of mine recommended the book to me. It's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And it speaks about how the voice that you hear in your head sometimes, that's not you. You're not, in a sense, you're not the thinker. That voice that's always in your head, that's like the ego in a sense, right? And that goes back to, like, what I'm saying, like, when you're trying to find who you are, you're lost at one point. You have to be able to, like, break yourself down, and pride, whatever you want to call it, just being able to start at zero, step out of frame and be like, okay, what is it, like, who really am I, and, like, why am I here, like, up to this point, you gotta, like, trace back your steps, like, into your past and realize who you've been, and, like, finding those morals and values. And I read that book, and it just lets you know how the mind works and how your body works too, and, like, how to like, always be in tune with yourself, be in the moment, instead of living in the past or in the future. It's a really good book. Really, really good book.
I've actually read a lot about, like, the subconscious mind, and what it essentially is, and it really, really works, is, you know, we've heard about this book called The Secret, which basically talks about affirmations and stuff. And if you get down to the science of it, it was quantum physics, which basically said that Everything essentially is, like what are we made up of? Organs. What are organs made up of? Tissues. Tissues are made up of cells. Cells are made up of atoms, which is the smallest particle. But if you break down an atom, it's made up of vibrations, waves. And how everything has a vibe.
It's all,
Like
yeah,
your goals, your
it's so
dreams,
true.
everything has a vibe, and so is you. So if you learn how to get in tune with that, and how you can, influence your subconscious mind, because your thought, the power of your thinking. So even if you say, this is the amount of money I'm going to accumulate,
Yeah.
but in the back of your mind you think, shut up, you can't, right? That is
Yeah,
essentially what's going
you
to
got to like
happen.
see the money. Like,
Right.
first and foremost, before you have it, like, we tend to make life, that's what I've learned for myself. Like, you think life is so hard, but it's actually, we're the ones that make it hard. Like, you just have to be able, and obviously the way you and I think, how we speak, is through years and like of learning this, reading books, like being able to have an open mind and know that the world that we thought we've grown up in, like through what people have taught us, our parents and stuff like that, this is the way stuff works. You have to be able to question it for yourself, move another direction, and be like, okay, maybe it's not like that. You have to be open to it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's how it was. At first, I was super hard headed about it. I didn't get it. Like,
Same.
Sense to me. So I really started to dig into it, read the books, have open conversation with people.
Yeah.
And when you have that, you can't be closed minded about it. You have to be open to everything and gain these perspectives, and then think for yourself and be able to question that. But to what you're saying, quantum physics and all that, that's real. I don't know if you've heard there's this scientific case that happened. It was like back in the military. It was years ago, where they took a cotton swab on a soldier, and they put it in a petri dish, and then so the cells were fresh. They took the cotton swab, put it in a petri dish, then they sat him 50 feet, I think, from where the petri dish was at in a building, and they tied him up with what was it, like some form of wires that connected, I think, to the petri dish. And they had him watch movies, different categories, comedy, drama, and like horror. And whenever, like, so for example, he was watching the horror movie, right? Whenever he like jumped, in like real time, the cells in his body would switch, and so were the ones from the petri dish. Like in real time, like that. I was watching it. I was hearing about it in a podcast, and that to me is like, that's crazy. Like they did it like 3 times. They moved him from 50 feet to 100 feet to like, I think 500, and in real time, his cells, or whatever you want to call it, would just shift with his body when he like feel a certain emotion. So that just lets you know, like, we're all interconnected as well, like with people. That's why I say like energy and all that stuff is real.
Yeah, 100%. And it can sometimes be difficult to comprehend, but actually once you get down to it, it's so well explained, like scientifically. So it's not something like just we believe in. But sometimes actually the problem with that sometimes is people who believe in things like manifestation and affirmations. Can you see me? Yeah, I'm saying sometimes what the problem happens is when people talking about manifestations and affirmations, they go on some weird fucking tangents and start making things sound very like weird and wishy-washy and sometimes cringy, but it's generally backed up with so much like scientific explanations. So even once someone is talking about it, it does not have to sound like, I don't know, man. Whenever I've heard someone just talk about it, they're like, I don't need to do anything. I just need to think about things and it's going to come to you. And it never happens like that, Like you keep on working towards what you have to do. But somehow it's just being in the right mental state. Like, the reality is that everything's out there. That's the reality.
You gotta be right within to win. That's just truth. Like, you gotta know who you are, be in tune with yourself, work at yourself. Like mental health is a big thing too. You gotta check on yourself. Like you gotta check yourself. What it is that you're feeding your mind, like what you're feeding your body.
Yeah. 100%.
That's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration. I'm one of those people. I mean, I'm still working at it, learning more about the mind, and always check it. But I feel like self-awareness is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Having that already, like, it catapults you farther because you're aware of what's around you, the conversations that you have with people, who you're with at times. Because I'm a big person on too. Like, my time's valuable, and I don't like spending it with people that aren't going to bring me any benefit. Like, I don't just say benefit for myself, but for one another. Like, when I say, like, we're spending time together, like, building, creating, like talking about things that we want to do, not just sitting around doing nothing. That to me is just, that's played out. I've done that enough of just sitting on my ass and watching Netflix and shit. I mean, there's a time for it, but
for sure.
Earn it, earn it. Don't just start the day doing that.
The biggest thing I feel like was a game changer for me. I read this random quote and I picked it up and I was like, this is my religion, which was you're the average of 5 people you associate with most. And like, not kidding, I was just at that place in my life where I was just here and I imagined, I was like, okay, these are the people I surround myself with. Do I want to be an average of them? Yes or no? And it was a no, And it's difficult because sometimes people are close to you, you love them, you've spent so much time together. But then it was a split second of decision that, it's a big no. So whoever comes into your life, for me also, I feel like, it's a big give or take. And people see it like, that's so selfish. That's not how relationships are. But in my opinion, I feel like, if I'm spending time with someone, there has to be either I'm giving some sort of value to them or they are giving some sort of value to me, It's not just like we're hanging out. It's not just like, we're just chilling for the sake of it. But it has to like somehow lead to something, that we have that kind of a powerful network around us. That's not like, we just once spoke and that's it. But somehow it's more, I feel like, impactful and solid than that. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta be able to, and that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Because it goes back to that people are used to being around the same people, the same routines and stuff, and like I can understand that it can be hard to give that up because it's that fear of like, who am I supposed to hang out with, or this is all I know. But as hard as change may seem, like you need that in order to grow. Like that's how you gain experience and new perspectives. Like that's just that, and like you gotta check that. Like how you said, you gotta check yourself if you're hanging around like 4 just average people that aren't doing anything. Like you best believe you're gonna be the 5th one. as like if you're hanging around 4 other people that are like millionaires or building businesses and are trying to like grow, and you're gonna be the 5th one because that's all you're surrounded by and that's all you become to know. But then not only that, it's not like you're just around them and it's gonna happen. You gotta put in that work too. It's the work ethic. And like going back to what you're saying, like some people think like, oh yeah, if I just think about things, it'll manifest. It's just like, that's part of it, but it's going back to putting in the work. Like I was reading that Russ book. I just finished it where he talks about how in a way, in a sense, like we are magicians when it comes to stuff like this, because you take something from just thinking about it of where you want it to be, and then you moving your wand, which is you putting in that work of working towards it, and then freaking a year or a month down the road, that thing ends up coming out or coming up from what you envision. Like you literally brought it to fruition. Like just hearing that, it was just like a little ideology how he explained it. Like an example, it's just like we really are, in a sense, magicians, because you take something from just you seeing it, and here, and then in a physical form, like you make it appear. Like it's just crazy. Like your thoughts are very, very powerful.
100%.
And if you're always speaking negativity, then that's all you're gonna see around you. If you start speaking positivity, what do you expect's gonna happen? Like and a lot. Even some people have a lot of hard time like believing that or understanding that, and I get it, and I don't judge, but I understand why, because it goes back to the lack of experience. They don't know any better. They're in comfort zones, which is fine if that's what you want. Like, if that's what makes you happy. At the end of the day, like, do the things that make you happy. But just know that happiness and comfort don't coexist.
100%. But somewhere I feel like people who might be very negative, or people who mean to you, disrespectful to you, all those categories of people, I somewhere feel like why I'm so grateful for people like us. You need some sort of mental space and mental freedom to be so. Can you hear me?
It goes on me again.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. I can see you now. I can see you.
Yeah,
I can see
so I was saying why I'm so grateful for like people like us is somewhere you need so much mental freedom and peace of mind to be so articulate. So many times to know any better, so you're able to actually discern the truth from like, this is right and this is wrong. But there are so many people, because of the experiences of how they grew up, people around them, their judgment gets so clouded where they're not able to tell what's right or what's wrong,
Exactly. And Like, it's like, once again, it's crazy to me. I've learned to just like, because you can't. I don't like arguing. You can't argue with those people. All it is that I try to do is have conversations with them, be open minded. But it gets to a point where you realize that you can't, and you can't force something on someone. Like, you just can't. I'm not a person about that, like forcing people to believe something or do something. Because like, who am I to do that? It's just that you can either take the information or whatever it is that we're talking about or what we're doing, and either keep an open mind to it. And I understand everyone has opinions. Like, I can't hate on you for not understanding what I'm saying, because it can be the other way around. You maybe think I'm the one that's crazy, or like, you know what the fuck you're talking about, which is fine.
Yeah.
Like, this is just things that I see and how I think, which it's not to downplay what you think, because everyone has an opinion. Everyone thinks differently, and it goes back to that. And a lot of people don't understand that too. Like, you have, and it goes back to what Napoleon Hill says. Like, you have to respect everyone else's judgments and how they think and how they act, because they're not on your level of how you think or act. And because you were at one point there, you know.
100%.
Just that you got to remember that you've taken the time to like study and like put your head down and like learn these things, but don't be an asshole about it either. When you're trying to talk, because that just doesn't make you any better. And I feel like someone that's wise, that it's just the ego that kicks in at that point, because you're trying to get a point across. It's just like, dude, just.
Yeah, but something which I really learned from Gary, he would always talk about, have compassion, have empathy for the haters. But I would be like, fuck the haters. But where you're able to understand it, when someone's disrespectful and all that stuff, instead of you getting offended, you're like, you disrespected me. Now you understand it has nothing to do with you. It has everything a projection of how they're feeling. So you're able to have empathy for that shit. And you're like, I hope you become happy. This is not something I want to deal with right now. But, like, go do you. Let me do me, And as long as you don't get affected, you're good to go. You know what I'm saying?
And that's it. Because once I learned that from him, too, like, it is. All that stuff, when someone hates on you. And, like, I've never really understood that either, about, like, hating and stuff like that. And, like, don't get me wrong. Whenever I have felt hate, I've never projected it. I always show love still. Because I just know how the mind works, how it's always trying to play tricks on you. It's always trying to, because we were born negative, if you think about it. In a world that we're in, like, it's just, you're around, like, I just say that for myself, like, coming from the family that I've come up, like, I would always see it was envy, jealousy, and stuff like that, and you're around something so long that it molds you to that. 100%. But, like, to me, even as a kid, like, I never understood it. I was like, why are people so mean? Like, why are they like this? And I think my mom, because my mom has always been that loving person, because I would see how much hate they bring her sometimes, and she would always just attack back with kindness. Like, that lady is, I don't know, she's a fucking soldier. Like, she's always happy, like, with all the things that has happened to her in her life, like, still has a bright ass smile on her face every day. I'm just like, damn, that's the happiness.
So how can you say you're born in negativity when that is how you're
like, fuck it.
That's what I'm saying. That's how. True, like, how can you say you're born in negativity when your parents are like that? When they come from a place of love.
Everything around you.
Huh?
Because it's everything around you. Think about, you're with them, like,
but
you're born into that, right?
But most of the time? It's your family, it's your inner circle. When they're good, it's you against the world. And trust me, we see a very small part of the world in our immediate environment, which can be negative. But I feel like the majority of the world, that's something I like to believe, is actually good, is actually does want to help, is actually kind. And the thing is, which this very small group of people who are very negative, they come off too strong and are very intensive. For a person who's really nice and helpful, can sometimes be shy and might not go out of their way to, like, comfort you. But instead of that, you become the person who's going to go out of your way to, comfort someone. So if you're in a party or something where I remember, I would feel like, I don't want to be alone, where I'm not talking to anyone. I was like, fuck that, I'm going to be the person. If I see someone sitting alone, having lunch alone, I'm going to go. And I'm going to try to comfort them and, try to, like, somehow include them in the conversation or whatever, like, just bring up that self-esteem. So instead of thinking, like, I wish people bring me up, I'm like, fuck that, I'm going to bring everyone up, I see,
Be the person to...
Yeah. So that is always a very empowering experience.
And, like, doing that stuff, it's just, it brings you genuine happiness, Because it's, like, it goes back to, like, you're saying, like, I don't want to be that person. I want someone to come talk to me, or I don't know no one. So it's just like, put yourself in the shoes and go comfort someone else. Like, the gift of giving, all that. That's the biggest thing you can do, is just And that's that. I see you in that because that's how I am too. Whenever I'm somewhere public and I see people, like the ones that are just kind of like shy, don't want to talk or anything, or they don't know how, just going straight up to them, asking how they're doing, this and that, just cracking jokes, making them laugh. Because it goes back to that. You break that tension that they may feel, that stress. You see their shoulders from this go down, and like that to me is the most beautiful thing. Once you can get to make someone feel comfortable in an environment like that, because everyone deserves to be around. You know, like.
100%,
But
that also takes a lot of confidence and courage to roll up to someone cold and say, you know, what's up? Because there's a huge chance that you might just get fucking rejected, or like, you know. But
it just it comes back to that, just not giving a fuck. Like, 100%. I don't care. Like, if you fucking feel away, then cool. Like, that's what's up. Like.
But so many times it can lead to something so much more interesting. You know, like you were just hitting that lady up. You know, like I love your work. That's it. And you know what it led to. So I feel like that always leads to a lot of good shit. Just people, you know, like just people in general, building good relationships with people, I feel like is like gonna be our biggest like advantage in life.
That's everything. Like I want to talk about that real quick. Like, and you can agree or disagree with me, but like it's all about who you know. That's it. That's part of the secret of everything. Like it's what you know. No, it's who you know that gets you in the door, and it's what you know that keeps you in there. And like I said, how I mentioned earlier, I came to college for photography. The only reason I came up here was because, first and foremost, my parents and my family were like basically telling me to like, get out of here, like get out of this town and go do something.
Yeah.
And I was determined. Like at such a young age, I was like, I'm gonna do this. Like this is what I want to do. Photography, music, culture. Like everyone's telling me that I can't, that it's not possible. So first and foremost, I gotta prove it to myself, and then tell everyone like, yo, it is possible. Like go do what you want. And that's that. And when I came up here, that one friend that I told you about, Carlos, a very dear friend of mine, I've known him forever, and he was on game way before I was, like with these books and everything. I feel he's the one from the whole circle that put everyone on to this way of thinking and stuff like that. So all love goes to him for that. And I remember him telling me, he was prepping me already without me even knowing at the time, because he was one of my biggest supporters and fans at the time when I was first starting out. That it was weird. I didn't even get it. I was like, this dude is too much. I don't know if he's just like at a point where he's just like lying about my work just to like be around me. But it's all genuine. And he's the one that told me when I first came up to college, he was just like, dude, you can literally spend the X amount of years you're going to be here either partying and not doing shit and just like having fun like the rest of the crowd, or you can use this time to network, meet people that you want in the field that you want to be in, and establish those connections early. That way, when you're out there in the world doing the stuff that you want to do, you can come back to these connections and be like, oh, I met this person here that does this. I need you for that because, or this, you know, this is what you're good at. I need a journalist, or I need a producer, whatever, you know, stuff like that. And I took that into consideration, and right off the bat, as soon as I started college, just talking to people, just learning more about them and establishing those connections, because that does go such a long way. You never know. You're in an environment of people that are gonna be in positions in the future, whether they be doctors, fucking president or something, a CEO, and you meet them here. And I just happen to be in this environment. So I was like, it is so true. You meet them here now, you never know where they're gonna go. 100%. But that's the biggest thing that I tell people. Oh, and that's another thing that I live by too, that I've learned too, is always be open to any interaction that comes your way, because you never know what you can learn from that person or what you can teach them. Like I've had some of my greatest conversations with people I don't even know, like just like random, like in the most random places, and I end up learning so much, or like they end up answering a question for me that I needed an answer to, that I thought that I could get from like my own circle or like my family, but it ends up being from a random stranger that you don't even know. But always be open to that, because like I feel like life's a puzzle that you're building, and the people that you come in contact with are helping you build that puzzle. I just strongly believe that.
Yeah, I 100% believe that. For some reason, for me, I was a very secluded person. I was like, it's just me by myself. I'm gonna create my own shit, conquer my own shit. But I started learning how it's not easier, but how much more amazing it is to do it with people. Instead of like me learning, me executing, I learn, I share, and I execute, and I help other people, And even though I might not get anything out of them, I spent 2 years learning about my fucking industry. And I spend an hour with someone, spill all my shit, and give it to them, But something I learned from Gary, I keep bringing him up, but it's a big karma is a big business strategy for me, you know. Like if my piece of advice, like a small thing that I learned from a book too, which was for free, not a book, but you know, like just content and stuff, I'm sharing that. And if that piece of advice leads to so much good for the person, even if they might not directly do something good for me, it's somehow always gonna come back, you know. And that
Yeah.
became a big strategy, you know, of like building up with people. And like you said, you know, your friend Carlos got you to J Park's concert, right?
What was that?
It was your friend Carlos who got you to the J Pop concert.
My friend Chase Fade.
Chase.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my bad. Right, so it's again the people, you know, right? So it's not like
Yeah.
there weren't better photographers, but he knew you. He was homies with you.
Yeah, and
he wanted
it
you
goes
up
back to
there.
that. See, that's an example. Like,
Yeah.
it's connections, networking, the people that you know. Like,
Yeah.
you just, and that's another thing. And like, I've learned personally too, don't burn bridges,
Yeah.
because that is a huge no-no. Because you never know,
Yeah.
and like, obviously, when you're young, you're learning, you're dumb.
Yeah.
But like, that's another thing that I've learned. Like, do not burn bridges. Like, that is bad for business. Not cool.
I don't know, I've never been there right now. But for
Yeah.
me, you know, it was always like in personal life, like, you know, if you don't fit into the map, cut off, cut off, cut off. Because somewhere you have to keep on moving, you know. You cannot
Yeah.
keep, you know, being dragged along like the same shit for a long time, you know. It's like one conversation just for the fuck of it, you know, because we're friends.
Yeah.
Either you're on board, either you're off the board. And I feel like someone explained this to me in like the most perfect analogy was, you know, when you're working, when you're building up stuff yourself, if you're here and your friends are here, once you have once you're here, you know, very solid sense of self, you're here, there are two things that are going to happen. Either they're going to come up here or they're going to
That's
leave.
the gap. That's the gap. Yeah.
You know? Either they're going to come up to your level, which is good, and if they won't, they're going to leave, you know? And that is what I understood, you know? There's no regrets.
That's the gap that Uncle Snoop Dogg talks about. Like, it's just facts. Like, if they're not up to par with what you're doing, it's just like, well, everyone can't come. Like, they're not trying to put in that groundwork too. It's just like, how can I come back down for you? At that point, I'm losing. Like, I've been coming up, and like, what were you doing those time you've been with me? Why aren't you up here with me? And it's just like, you can help. That's another thing. You can help people, give them all the game, all the knowledge, but you can't make a superstar. Like, they have to see it within themselves. They have to, like, know that they're already that before they are that. All you can do is just be that moral support and like that little push, but you can't carry them with you, you know?
Yeah.
It's like that saying, like, you can take a horse to, you know, water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just with that, like, you just, not everyone's meant for it.
And something I've been weirdly noticing is, I don't know, something, I don't know, maybe in this time of my life, but I've been noticing how people have been very hesitant to help the other person, in my opinion. And I don't know why, you know, I'm a person like, no bragging.
It's insecurity. It's insecurity, because I can speak for myself.
Yeah.
Because I used to be like that at a point, and then I started realizing it, and it goes back to the homie Gary. He's the one that speaks on it, and it's just like, it's true. Like, what is it that you're afraid of? If you give this knowledge or you help someone, an insecure person would be afraid to give that, because they're gonna be like, oh, what if they end up doing something better? But it's just like, that is already like, you're not believing in yourself. Like,
right,
you have to.
Right.
It's about helping one another in this world. You know, it's just like, if you really feel like that, then you must not believe in your work, or you're not putting in enough work to have to feel that way, you know, when you give knowledge. But you learn through experience. Like I say, once again, I'm open to helping anyone, like, whenever I can. And like I say, I only speak on things that I know.
That is so much
and that I
of a more beautiful relationship between a circle of people, where you know you can call up someone and get shit done, you know, and it's beneficial for the both of you, you know. Instead of we just like kind of knowing each other, we kind of like just chilling together, and that's about it. But you know, when time comes to push, where I mean, you know, like no one's really there. So what kind of a network did you really build? You know, and if you can help one another, somehow all of you are moving forward together, and you're moving so much more faster and further than you could have done alone. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that is just so much more cooler.
That's true. It's like how you say, that saying, how it takes a village to raise a child. It's the same. It takes a village to build an empire. And like, you can't expect to build it alone. Like, hell no. Like, you're not even gonna get that far. Like, that's just facts. And going back to what we're talking about, obviously, you know, about what a mastermind is. Reading Napoleon Hill. Like, I'm pretty sure you've already started to build your little mastermind of people that you've been connecting with and having around you. But that's the biggest thing I have too. That's a blessing in itself. I was just having a conversation with my roommate about how we're just like, dude, a lot of people don't have this. Like, they don't have friends that they can go to and just talk about anything and everything and just be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Be their true selves and be like, yo, this is what's going on, or I need help with this. Like, to be able to have that away from family, because sometimes you can't even talk to your family about certain things because they just don't get it, and that's just that. Yeah. And like, to be able to have a circle of individuals that you can have around you, and each one will always be straight up with you and be real with you because they expect that from you as well. Yeah. Like, that's the cherry on top of everything. Like, having such a strong circle like that, because you can be your utmost self and you learn from yourself so much more with these people that are always going to hit you with 100% of the truth whenever you need to hear it. And you have to be able to take constructive criticism too. That's another thing. Like, I've known people that ask for it, and then once they get it, they're just like, I don't want to hear that. And I was like, well, why'd you ask for it? Like, if you're asking for an opinion, you're going to get 100% of the opinion. Like, you're not going to get 50% of it.
Yeah. And something, not to stay on top too long, but something I learned is you also need like such a strong sense of self. Something I struggled with when it was a big cutoff, I was like, I need my fucking space, to do what I have to do. There were no people around, but what does one consume? It's not so much about like if we are friends, only that is when somehow you're influencing me. But me watching Gary content, his books, his videos, me watching Jake YouTube videos, me listening to this music, everything started. These were the majority of people somehow I was spending my time in. That is how I got influenced. So many times you might not have people to depend on, but once you're in tune with yourself, where you get when you get in a rut, you look like, okay, at this point in time I have no one, but you have yourself. When you have a clear mind, you can get shit done in your head, like things are going wrong, but I'm going to get back up. And these are influences. Why I love music is this is what you take from it. These are the things that you somehow they start influencing you. So why I love rap so much again is so much of it is like affirmations. But this guy was like, I was broke, no, now I'm this. And once you're singing along, somehow you start to believe it, that this guy was no different than who I was.
You start saying it so much that it becomes the truth.
I got 100,000 in my pocket. That's like the most materialistic shit. But now it's not a big deal for me to think like that. It's not that fucking unrealistic,
You have to be delusional with the thing. Like, that's another thing that I just started learning. Like, as much as because that's the thing that's gonna keep you going to go chase this crazy dream that you have. You have to be delusional as fuck with it. You have to like get in your head at times and be like, this, like, you can have to see it so vividly and like know you're already there before you're there. Yeah. And it's that delusion, the persistence, and being like grateful for it all while you're going through this bumpy ass road. Yeah. Because it's a long ass road.
Yeah. So what would you say? What would be your end goal?
My end goal, like everything, obviously, like how I mentioned, being established in the music culture as one of the best music guitarists that I can be. Building like my own branding for that, which involves like touring with artists, working with them, being a personal photographer for other artists, and just having that brand to venture off into like fashion as well on its own, with other things in the hip hop culture. And like my biggest end goal though, like after all of it, is like being able to take all those incomes that I want from like having clothing brands, collabing with streetwear clothing brands, working with artists, having real estate, and all that, everything in between, to be able to build an art school back in my hometown. That's the biggest thing in Bridgeport, Washington. I want to build that and have that there as a school for just focusing on what it is that you want to do creatively. Because there's kids that I know for a fact out there that they have so much talent creatively and they don't even know about it. Yeah. They haven't tapped into it. They haven't tapped into that side of the brain because all you have is this normal system of schooling that tells you, these are the things you have to learn that'll get you to college, and then go work that 9-to-5 job, which is fine. It's not to like tread on anyone that's working a 9-to-5 or doing that, because those are some people's dreams and you can't bash on them for that. Yeah. But for me, it's more of like, I just want to be able to do that for them. And the reason that got inspired was because when I was in college, I took a journalism class by accident again. And I ended up having to go interview a school in the city of here in Spokane. It was a Salish school, and it's like an independent school that's its focus is on educating a Salish like tribe that's dying out, like with their language. It's not so common anymore.
Okay.
So like they're still trying to preserve it by the race that's still alive and teaching the youth the language and everything. So what they do, they have their structure already. What is the things that you actually have to learn, right? As a student, like your math, your English, and all that, the requirements in the state of Washington.
Yeah.
But the rest of the day that they're there, like it's a regular school hours, like your 7-8 hours. They focus on like what you need to learn for the state, like for 2 to 3 hours. But then the rest of the day, they're focusing on what it is that the student wants to do, like whether it be something like creative, something business, like they start teaching them that at an early age. So that just sparked that idea. That was like 2-3 years ago, and then I was like, if I can do that, but just as an art school, like directly art, whether it be like anything that you think is art, like I want to be able to have it there, and that just goes back again. I have to make those connections with people that are investors, that are teachers, for these types of things, or that just know structures for like a school, and then comes, like I said, networking, meeting people. That's back to that example. But the end goal is just being able to do that and put that in my town and give kids another route than just the one that everyone's used to,
Yeah.
And that's just another thing too, just being able to see the town. Like, I don't take credit for nothing that I've been seeing recently, but I've been seeing more kids from my towns in similar areas, like picking up cameras. And that to me is just dope. Like it's badass, because I've had some of them message me and they ask me for advice and stuff, and just to be able to have that, I'm just like, damn, that's crazy, because I've been that kid that's always DMing people asking for advice, and just to be in that position right now too, just that's beautiful. That's a blessing.
That's so dope. And do you make like content and stuff otherwise?
What was that?
Do you make content and stuff otherwise, not like photography basis, but like on your own self,
On my own self? Wait, can you...
in the sense, like kind of documenting your, like your thoughts and your minds and things like that.
No, I'm probably... That's actually a great idea. I should
Because see, for me, something like, I feel like my biggest strength, I feel like there's such a huge hole. Like I told you, I can't say, what is it? Like if you want to hire me, what do I even do for you, But somewhere I was actually talking to this guy who was a successful company. It's a social media agency, and he worked with Gary. So, I just DM'd him and we spoke, and he was very impressed. He's like, I love you. I don't even know what you do, but I hire you. And that really stuck with me. I was like, why? But he said, because, like Gary says, skill set is always something that can be taught. But like your core shit, that is difficult to find. You know what I'm saying? So if people start, and you are talented, obviously, you have your products all out there. But once people also start connecting with who you are as a person, your thoughts, your minds, all of this, where is this even leading to, you wanting to have a school, you wanting to start like a fundraiser, and, all sorts of things. That is something that is irreplaceable, and they would want to get behind that. You know what I'm saying? But it's, again, like the job of storytelling, and you obviously are a photographer, you would be so good at it. But once you can just take down the camera, like Gary talks about, documenting your process. So this is me right now, 2019. This is my journey from where I am right now to this, just recording where my mind's at. So you're obviously going to be some days where you're hyped as fuck, fuck shit up, I'm at J-Park, bitch, yay. But there are times where you feel like, I feel so stuck in my room. I feel like that was the last biggest thing I did, and I haven't done anything.
That's okay. That's part of it.
That's absolutely okay, like right? That.
Yeah. You have to.
It's crazy, but that is going to be legendary. Jake Paul, right?
Yeah.
So I remember I watched his vlogs where no one watched his vlogs. He used to record with a GoPro. Had his super early videos. That was when he just moved to LA. And he had these pieces of paper that he had just stuck in his room saying, I'm going to be the youngest billionaire. He was sharing a room with like one room with 4 or 5 people, some sleeping on the mattress, sleeping on the floor, sleeping on the bed. Had written, don't sleep. And just things like that. So I was like, wait, he struggled with waking up? This guy who has insane work ethic, And him talking about, so this is my life. I was bullied in school, but this is what I'm going to create. He's been documenting it all. And that's what I love, That's what I've always wanted to learn from people. Like, who was Drake before Drake? Because he was always Drake. He was always this person who he is today. But that is what a huge part of, I feel like the world is missing, Where they see the finished product.
It's like the story that leads up to that person.
Right,
like, you see them there. It goes back, it goes back to what everyone sees. Like they see the glamour, like, oh, this person got all this, and it's just like, yeah, but look what took to get him.
100%. And I feel like, your mind and so much shit that goes into it, the core shit that we're talking about right now, is eventually what leads to the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's crazy because I see people around me too that are like doing stuff, and it makes me happy because I see like where they've been before, and it goes back to like it is dope to just document all of it because you see like you're in this position, but like just seeing where you used to be or how you used to think and how you used to carry yourself like that is wild. But
so something I'll tell you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say like how you said like having all these things on the wall.
Yeah.
It's building your mind and molding it to believing that and speaking and writing it all in present moment. Like you're already there.
Yeah.
That would be like it.
And something I really observed why someone like Jay Park has such a huge influence. You saw that, and Jay Park is not he's a big artist, right? He's not a BTS big level artist. The reason he has that is because his fans know him as a person. The reason is when he was signed to a media agency is all he had so many videos of him talking as a person. People know his story. People know how he was thrown out. People know who he is today. People know what his mind is about, and therefore they fuck with his music. That is what impact is. One impact is where my song goes viral. I have a lot of views. There's another impact where I'm getting fan pages, I'm getting like share. I'm having people, take my captions, take my lyrics and have them have captions, sharing about how it changed their lives. And what BTS was the one artist that documented their whole process from like the zero to where they are right now. I remember they have a video talking about, so today we uploaded our video where they would just straight up like record and say, this is how my day went, like a 5-minute video. And they said, I got no comments on my last video. I really hope that we make it. They would really say things like that, And it's crazy to me what they're accomplishing today, Like one in three people who are visiting Korea are because of BTS, So they've had such a huge impact on the economy. It was $3.4 billion they had created for the Korean economy. Just alone, these 5 books.
When you can boost up the economy as an artist, that is wild.
Imagine, it's true because the more money you make, the more taxes you're gonna pay, and so. So if you have brands, if the school's gonna pay taxes. You have merchandise, your company is gonna pay taxes, and then there are people who are buying from you. They pay a tax of their own, So all of this shit eventually leads to the economy, growing and flourishing.
Yeah.
And once you understand that, it's fucking crazy. So, that's why all of this is so important,
Yeah.
And I feel like people miss out on that. Like, if you look at BTS, why I love them so much, they're so perfectly unachievable image you see, where you're like, okay, that is something that exists, which has nothing to do with me. But once you actually get down to them just speaking they would just switch on the fucking camera for 2 hours and just, be reading comments, saying some shit, and there are 5 million people watching. Live, real time. Those are not views, lifetime. That's real time views, live. People from all over, like, the world. Like, I don't fucking speak Korean, but I'm reading the, like, subtitles and stuff. And they've always been the same person who were they back in, like, 2010 and 12. And it's the craziest shit. So anyway, coming back to the point, of how documenting, that's something that Tony Robbins said, that, we sometimes underestimate what we can achieve in a year. No, sorry, we overestimate what we can achieve in a year and underestimate what we can achieve in a decade. And it's special because, it's 2020 now. And people are thinking, all right, how am I going to fuck up? Like, 2020 is my year, but what are you going to do in 2030? It's difficult to think like that. But if you actually take it out on the map,
in a whole decade like that,
it's fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy. Yeah. It's fucking crazy. Like, that's the journey. It's a process. And nothing comes easy. Like, it's gonna be a lot of falling on your face, and once you know how to get back up right away.
Yeah, young people need that education of it's not easy. Therefore, the documentation becomes important. Like you and I, speaking with them as, I won't say they're mentors, but as people who are in the same position where they're gonna be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's not to like have anyone think like. Obviously, for myself, to think like, oh yeah, this kid's already doing stuff or he's already in a position. It's like I'm nowhere near. Like I'm still in the position of like creating my network, building, and like making a name for myself, and still trying to prove something that that I belong here, and like that this shit's gonna pop off when it pops off. But it's like no, I'm nowhere near close to where I want to be. Like I can be straight up, man. I'm fucking broke right now. Like it's a process but I'm doing it because it genuinely makes me happy, and I know that it's bigger than me, and I'm going through the ropes right now for a reason because it's building me. It's making me stronger. For the times ahead, because it only gets harder. It doesn't get easier. Whoever told you otherwise is probably lying. And it's just if you're. Why do you think it's the 1% that are successful or rich or this and that? Because they're the ones that are taking those risks and like are venturing from the norm of society or being how everyone else is and trying to build something for themselves. And it's not easy. If it was, everyone would be doing it. And it's just like there's no manual to this life. So. Like how going back once again to what Gary says, like you're gonna die one day, so what are you gonna do about it? And what I'm trying to do about it is build something and leave something behind. So when I'm gone, it's just like that'll live on.
Yeah, you know, like how you got like a J Park gig, where people would be like, "Wow, you know, he works with J Park," but it started with you complimenting someone's work on a fucking DM. That's it.
And it wasn't even like a gig. It was just like, bro, he's here. I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
But I'm photograph him. I fuck with his style. I end up finding out this is fucking huge. It's signed to Rock Nation.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, okay. I literally shook this guy's hand. That's that. Okay, like that's.
So dope. You know, you can like make a small video on how you got the G-Eazy gig.
Oh yeah.
Things like that. It's just started with the DM and so. You know, like how Gary says, it's a big numbers play. You know, you DM 100 people, 2 of them are gonna fucking say yes. They have to. Right.
They have. You start hitting the wall so much that it's eventually gonna break and someone's gonna fucking it's that consistency too of just going for it.
Do you have any plans to move to LA or something?
I'm actually trying to move to Seattle next year.
I see.
Seattle is growing with the music scene too, and like I want to be a part of that. I mean, I could go to LA, but it's just like to me, I feel like. I don't know, it's probably because I'm not over there, but just seeing it from the outside looking in, I feel like it's just too overrated for me. There's too much. Like, I feel like Seattle right now, it's growing more and more. There's a lot of talent coming out of there, and it has its own music scene that I want to be a part of and be able to help build if I'm given the opportunity with the more people that I meet. But eventually, make my way down there, like to LA, venture out to other spots. Like I said, I want to be able to, my goal is to travel, obviously, to all the states everywhere and at least establish a connection in every state, so when I go, it's just like boom, just touchdown. But Seattle's where I really want to be at right now.
I asked because I have like it's been my dream to go to fucking LA and shit, and now only recently we've been working to move for a month and see what it's like.
And like you and your family, or
just me? Yeah, just me.
Just you?
Yeah,
Nice.
But there's so much fucking paperwork involved. It's giving me the most anxiety I've ever had, and this is the only thing that I feel like I have no control over it, and it's just finger crossed and sitting, you know. It took me so long to prepare myself and for my family to like prepare themselves. Okay, we're sending our girl out, but a lot of paperwork happening. But something I was doing, I was like, I don't know anyone there, so that's where the podcast come in, where I started building relationships with people there, where I was like, I'm gonna intern for them. They were not a response to my DM, so I would hit up everyone they know except them, you know, like their friends, the people they work with. Somehow I can build my credibility around them. So.
Oh, and that's actually good job on that, because I recently heard another photographer. Her name's Babe, super talented, by the way. She's like she works with like the media teams for Rolling Loud and stuff. She's a well-established photographer in the music culture. She talked about that when it comes to trying to get a hold of someone, like say you're trying to get to the artist or you're trying to get to that person that you're trying to get to. The best idea is to not go directly to them. And how, like I said, like great job to what you're doing, because it's better to go through the people around them. Whether it's their secretary or the right hand man or whatever, or someone that's in like that takes photos for them too. Once you establish that connection with them, you're in. Like, that's
100%.
that. That's another way to see things, of how to like get closer to a person.
It's cool, you know. I feel like it was all just thinking about possibilities, you know, like this is something that is going to happen. It's just a matter of how it's going to happen, you know. And I love Jay Parker. He was one person I genuinely wanted to work for. He's someone in the music industry, and I learned this from Gary a lot. He said that if you don't have talent, you have your time, and say that this is what you bring to the table. And somewhere, if we like build like the last question we're gonna do is like I'll take feedback from you, but what happens is once we're able to build that sort of a connection with like say you right you're J Park's photographer or some shit, right? And if I want to intern for him, if I want to work for him, if I build a good connection with you where you trust my instinct and you trust me as a human being, I feel like you would bet on the person any day than hiring some random person with like a random skills. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. You just another thing too is like it's that little risk, taking that little risk. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know, and like I'm trying to think of an example where when that's happened. I feel like it was with I photographed the show. Like I said, the first show that I ever photographed, 2014.
Yeah.
Was for King Lil G. Photographed the show 2014. Did not know shit about photographing a show. I just went and I threw myself into a wildfire.
Yeah.
I was using a built-in flash and just going crazy. I was like, all right, cool. I do the shoot or whatever, send the photos. He posted some of them. That was a little moment because I had just started. And I didn't see him again till, I want to say 2017. Yeah, 2017. He came to Spokane at the Knitting Factory venue. And by that time, through those 3 years, I had already done like more things. I was a part of a magazine now. I was going to graduate college already, stuff like that. So the week before he was going to be in Spokane, I emailed and messaged his videographer. And I told him, like, yo, like, I'm trying to photograph the show for King Lil G. I photographed him back in 2014. I'm now partnered with the magazine, and we're in charge of putting new artists into this magazine and shedding light on them, whether they're major or they're upcoming. Yeah. And I told him, like, when I had met him and, like, what I was trying to do and just, like, give him thanks for giving me my first opportunity. Now I wanted to give back and pay back by putting him on this magazine to shed more light.
Yeah.
And as soon as I send the email, he tells me just like I'm gonna tell his manager, which is his wife, which I didn't know. His manager is his wife. He's like, I'll get it to her and see what we can do for you. This and that. He ends up hitting me back up like the week of the show, like a day before. He's just like, you're good to go. I'm show up to the venue at this time. Mm-hmm. Get there. I end up coming in and he sees me. The videographer's name, by the way, shout out to Truly. His name's Daniel. Tells me, he's like, hold up, I'm gonna have King Lil G come over here and like come see you, this and that. Yeah. And this dude literally is supposed to start his meet and greet, and I'm just like standing there, just looking around the venue, like fiddling with my camera. Yeah. And like Daniel points at him, says like, oh, that's the kid over there. Yeah. And after 3 years, like you meet so much people, you're all over the place, like you probably forget the person that you met back then. Yeah. And like he comes up to me and like right off the bat, he like says, oh, what's up, Cristobal? Gives me a hug.
Wow.
And just starts catching up with me, and he's just like, I'm telling him like, yo, this is what I'm doing now. Like I'm with this magazine, this and that, and like I just want to be able to put you on here and give thanks for everything you did for me. Like you're the person that gave me my opportunity. Right off the bat, he's just I gotta get on that magazine. Like here's my number. Like shoot me the photos and the info, anything that you need. Like this is everything. After that, just doing that little thing, and it came from me connecting with his videographer. Yeah. And that's what came out of it. From there, it's just like the connection was established, and then once again, when he came down here, it was just that much easier. Photographed him again, and then photographed him in another city, and it's just like now it's just love, and it goes through that. Like if you just connect with the people around someone that you want to meet, you're more than likely will get to that person. But it also comes from like you gotta know how to approach things. You gotta. I feel like you gotta add value. That was an example of giving them value, giving them something.
100%.
Because I can't just go there and be like, oh, let me photograph the show because I do this. It's just like so. But what are you bringing to the table? It's like, well, this is what I can do. I can provide this little platform. Yeah. And shed more light on you. And that's another thing. It's bringing value to everything that you're trying to do. Is giving to the people, to the person, individual.
And what would you say, what would be one of your advice be for young people? Because you're an executor, you go out and do shit. And I feel like a lot of people, they have dreams, they feel like, they're in the dark, they don't even know what the next move is. What is something that you want to put out there if someone's listening to this? What is it that you want to tell the kids?
Man, literally, if there's something that that you've been thinking about that you want to do, or that you already know what you want to do, but you're scared of doing it, like first and foremost, like it goes back to that you're gonna die one day. Like you can waste time thinking about doing it or worrying about what other people are gonna think, or just blocking out all that noise, because when you have nothing, no noise interrupting you, like that's where life starts to get great, because you're only listening to yourself and what you feel is best for you. And like going from like your parents to friends to family to anybody, like you can't listen to what they're saying. You gotta know what's in your best interest always. You gotta, and that comes with independent thinking as well, and just chase whatever it is that you're wanting to do, because like time is ticking, and that's the most expensive currency that we have. And if you're not spending it accordingly, then it's just like, what are you really here for? Like we're all here for a reason, and I advise everyone to try to find that. And it's not going to be easy, but once you do find it, everything around you, everything in the life starts to move differently. You look at it differently, and you start moving accordingly. But like, just for me personally, I can't imagine myself not doing what it is that I want to do. Like that would tear me apart once I'm in a fucking wheelchair, 80s and whatever. It's just like just living in regret. I would rather do it and not live with the what if.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what's the worst thing? You're just failing at something till you get good at it. That's all it is. And it's just, that's another thing too. I feel like people are scared of failing, and you can't. You just can't. You just have to go with it. That's what life is. It's you learn through experience. You learn through fucking up, and that's just that. Like, we tend to go hard for other people or jobs that we don't even like, but we can't even do that for ourselves. And once I heard that, I heard that from a wise man. Like, why go so hard for someone else or for something else, but you can't even do it for your own self? Like, you gotta do it for you. Look, find your best interest. Just do that.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. I feel like I learned so much from it, because It's difficult, It's difficult. Like, there's so many times you know things, but you need to hear them again, And it's a constant, like, reminder to yourself.
Yeah, and it's just like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not perfect either. Fuck, I'm human. Like, there's things still that scare me or that I'm afraid to do or have fears of. But it's just like, you have to learn how to switch those fears and use it as fuel to do it, and just say fuck it. Like, just fuck it.
Yeah.
Literally.
100%.
But yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you for your platform. Thank you for
I don't have so much of a platform, but we're all building up together. So that's it.
Definitely. That's why it's called building community, right?
Yes.
Hell yeah. That's such a gangster name, building community.
Thank you. It was so random. I just came up with it. And I just had, it was just the funniest shit. I wanted to document my process, like Gary said. And I never had a camera, or my phone's camera broke. So I started recording on my MacBook. And just, I'm like, hey guys, it's me, no one's watching, but this is how the day went. And started overcoming that fear of being on camera. I hated how I looked on camera. So that was a huge thing for me. But once I just started putting shit out, and Gary had instilled so much in me, like, if you don't put out shit, you're insecure. And I'm like, I'm not insecure. But you were sometimes. And that is how, like, the whole fucking journey started. And, I mean, that's what it was.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie to you, like, the whole time I've been talking to you, I've just been thinking about the first interview I ever did, and it was with the great, I would suggest to check him out. He goes by Untapped Potential. He started a podcast too.
Anti-potential?
Untapped Potential, yeah. You can find it on Spotify or like the Apple Podcast.
Okay. Untapped, right? Untapped.
Yeah, Untapped Potential.
Okay.
His name is Max Prado.
Yeah.
But I remember because I'm not used to doing things like this. Like, I get hella nervous.
Yeah.
And like, I remember that day when I was doing that interview, I was drinking because I was like, I gotta calm the nerves down. I was just so nervous, and then like just doing this one, like I'm over here drinking water, all sober.
Really?
It goes through like you do it, like you experience it. Okay, like you thought it was gonna be this, but it just ended up being nothing. Like it's normal.
Yeah.
And then you do it, and it's just like, oh, it's whatever. But yeah.
It's always nerve-wracking for me. Every time I'm just losing my shit before I hit record, before I answer the call, because you don't know the people and you do not know how someone's response is. So like, this was a super chill, fun podcast. We were just having a conversation. And sometimes it's just crazy, the person has all their guards up and it's just so difficult. and I'm
It's
losing my
so
shit.
weird. I
It's
can't.
fucking
Yes. When someone's just like one word answers, just quick.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
yeah.
damn, man, you're so boring.
I mean, you know, like I mean, I try not to judge because you know sometimes people just get nervous and they can't open up.
I understand that.
But what I try to do
Or
is
some
like you know
people
like
are
it's a
too cool to talk.
conversation. Yeah, but you know what I try to do is it's a conversation. That's it. It's
Yeah,
not like an
that's
interview
it.
when I'm asking questions and you're answering. It's like I was just kind of I'm like I feel like what I'm trying to do is document how to network with people all over the world. That is how I see it as, you know.
That's
Therefore,
your structure, your branding of how you want to be known. Like
yeah, you
this
know,
is how.
like kids know of does not matter where you are, as long as you have internet, you can do anything you want to do, you know, especially in this day and age. And that's why the
That,
questions are so simple, not simple, but in terms of you know, like, are you happy? What's your story? So I'm not trying to just understand you as a photographer, but also trying to I touch your nerves on you as a human being. So that is where we connect. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's
damn,
been super big.
I love it.
So I have
Yo,
a
let
lot.
me, huh?
Sorry, no, please continue.
I was gonna be like, let me ask you, what were your top accomplishments this year? Things that you did that are like a highlight of your 2019.
I feel like the biggest one would be starting the podcast. I had no
Hell yeah.
idea how to even screen record. My first podcast was on a FaceTime telling this guy I'm so sorry. I thought by the time I scheduled this, I would know how to screen record, but I don't. And he was just the nicest person ever. So we just have like a
Yeah.
great conversation, and we're friends till this day. But I learned how to, you know, divide my fucking screen on Skype, record the whole thing, taught myself how
Yeah.
to edit on iMovie, started posting stuff. And then we had a whole idea of increasing each other's followers, where after the
Yeah.
podcast, we would do like some sort of collaboration together. So there were a lot of up and coming artists with like 1,000 followers. And these are poor people I really fuck with. So I would create a really dumb video of myself dancing or something, but I would tag their
Yeah.
like music video or like, you know, their music playing in the background. And I would post their music on my profile and they would post my shit like on their profile. You know, somehow we're just collaborating,
Oh,
you know, things like that.
that's
So,
hell yeah.
yeah, so I did, me as a person, I could never think that I could even manifest something like this, which I was able to, you
But
know.
you did, and you're doing it.
I think
Respect.
I think that was the biggest thing. I was very frustrated because I was like, I'm listening to Gary and I'm never listening to Gary like I'm just watching a video. I have my pen and I have a notebook and there's so much shit I've written on my wall on my notebook. It's genuine, like because I didn't go to college, I've always had a chip on my shoulder that I'm gonna be like the most educated person in my industry, like smarter than the average person. It was not because I'm like put down from the earth as like, you know, you're gonna be smart as shit. But because I put in
Yeah.
so much work and so much time in my shit, you know? And that genuinely manifested in terms of, you know, like a podcast where I was able to meet so many amazing people. And I feel like the biggest accomplishment is going to be actually actualizing that thing of going to LA, even though there's so much of paperwork happening. But from me knowing no one to me having people waiting for me to me having people looking out for me to me having
Yeah.
things that I can go do there, I feel like that's been super, like, I guess, liberating. And it was telling me that, you know, sometimes we feel like we're just in a loophole, like nothing's happening, but you know, like
Yeah.
something's happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's really
Damn,
boring.
I like that. That's badass. You had a great year, and the next one's about to be better.
Thank you, man. I've just been very scared about the whole LA thing. I feel like now I came to a saturation point where I've learned, like, it's never like you can learn enough, but like I'm done with like the bookish, you know, like just constant consumption of information. Like, you know, if you
Yeah.
and I have a dope podcast and say you live in LA, right? And we would have like
Yeah.
plans to meet up to do some sort of project there. But now it's been
Yeah.
2 to 3 months, and somehow that gets old, you know, like you move on with your life and I move on with mine. That is something
Yeah.
that started happening. So that's why it was giving me a lot of anxiety where I was like, oh, you know, I'm going to see you in November. And it didn't happen. I had no idea about the paperwork it takes. So that's something that's been struggling, but, you know, next year.
Hey, and that's your first time ever coming out to the States, or?
Yes, that's like my first
Wow.
ever trip to like abroad or whatever. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
Thank you,
And
man. Thank you so much.
eat a lot of it now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, just go
100%.
crazy. Go crazy.
I feel like that was actually a very safe city for me to bet on because everyone somehow is I wasn't struggling, but fighting for their dreams. Everyone out there is trying to accomplish something. So even if you're broke, even if you don't know anything, even if you're new as shit, somehow you'll always find people who understand your journey, and you can all go
Definitely.
together, fight for your shit. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. I agree with you 100%.
Yes.
I
So
agree
I
with
have
you
a
on that.
last question for you. I'm so sorry I took so much of your time.
Good. I love talking. I never shut up.
So this is
Go for
a
it.
feedback question. The first one would be, what made you say yes? And the second one would be, do you have any feedback for me? And the third one would be, do you think, was there anything that I could have done better?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one, why did I say yes?
Yeah.
The reason why is because every time I feel like something like this comes towards me, it's an opportunity to share
Yeah.
my voice, my knowledge, and of who I am. Like you said, it's like a documentation right there. So this in itself is a little documentation. So I can't let that pass up, because for the fact that someone's willing to take time on me to learn about me is a lot. And because, like I said, time is valuable. Like, you could have interviewed someone else, or you could have gone through my work and be like, he's not that interesting. But there was something that sparked your interest in me, wanting to know about me. So all I can do is be here and share who I am. So that in itself is the biggest thing, because I don't know who's going to watch this and who it can help, or what seed I can plant in someone, that we can plant in someone from having this conversation. The second one, what was the second question?
The second one would be, would you have any advice from me, as far as you
Advice?
talk, if you've consumed any of my content?
As far as everything, I feel like you're doing a great job at what you're doing. The questions are really great questions that spark a conversation. I feel like it's more than an interview than it is. I mean, it's more of a conversation than it is an interview.
Yeah.
The one thing that I would say, honestly, I don't have any, but there's always something. There's always room for improvement. So give me a sec to think about it. There's maybe. Probably giving the option to the person that's on here, always letting them know, let them know where people can find you, like your social media handles or other things that you're doing. Probably just little things like that, just so they're aware of it. Or I don't know if you post it in the description already.
Yeah, so once I'm editing it, so your intro starts with your ads and where you're from and your full name.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
when the conversation is
going
on.
You got it down.
Yeah.
You're good. You're on top of everything. Look at you.
Yeah, this is
You're covering all the groundwork.
Yeah.
And what was the third question again?
And the third one was, if you had any feedback, if feedback in the sense, if you feel like we could have improved in some way during this podcast, any question you felt like that could have been touched upon or something of that sort.
That could have been touched upon. I feel like talking about more of the business side, probably, of the craft. And the reason I say that is because I'm still actually learning about it. So I could, me even saying that, it's like I can speak on it, but that's probably another thing to keep in mind for people that want to know the business side of an artist, because the artist is obviously, they know the art and the craft, but there's always another version to it. It's a business side, and that's something I'm struggling with still, and wanting to learn more about. It's something that I'm going to be putting my head down and learning more about this upcoming year, because that's another thing. Because I feel like obviously artists, they're, like how I said, they're just used to doing the art, and to them learning another side of it, the business side, is so hectic. It's a headache, but it's always good to know both. That way you know how a business works, because you got to see everything that you're doing, whether you're an artist, you're an artist from a musician, singer, dancer, painter, it's a business if you're trying to make money off of it. So you have to learn the groundwork of that. And that's something probably that moving forward, you can probably ask more artists that you have on there, because they may have some knowledge just to share too. You never know.
I see. Something I was just wondering, so do you just do photos, or do you also do videos?
I do photos, and I'm starting to learn more video, because I've been getting a lot of my homies that do video that are in the industry too, that are just man, you gotta start doing video, this and that. I don't know what you're doing. That's just another tool to have in your toolbox. It can make you more versatile. So that's something that's going to be learned more and done more this upcoming year.
Interesting. Something, just because the business side, for some reason, I feel like one of the books you'd love is called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a very, very well-known book. That book's
What's it called?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
I read that book.
You've read it, right? So
Yeah,
it
by
talks
Robert
about
Kiyosaki, right?
yes. You know, such that book was one of the books that opened my mind up to the possibilities of making money in so many different forms. So for you, example, you're a photographer, right? You have a super early artist who needs his music video shoot, right? He needs photos and content. If you take his responsibility as a small artist, obviously he can't pay you right now, but what you can
Oh
do
yeah.
is you can sign up a contract that I'm gonna take like 5% or 10% of your income until unless you give me this much back. You know what I'm saying? So all
Yeah,
of that,
actually, I lied. I haven't read that book. I was thinking about the other Robert Kiyosaki book, that this
right?
21st Century book. Rich Dad Poor Dad is a book that I've heard a lot about, so that's going to be another thing in my
Yeah, it's just
to
about
do
finance.
with.
It teaches you like random income statements and shit like accounting stuff, but so simply
Yeah.
where you are able to clearly see how one makes money, you know. You can see your different streams of income. So, you know, one of it would be you doing these gigs and you somehow getting paid from it. Another one potentially, which is going to be a big one, is once you learn how to make content, and that's obviously it's going to take a while, you know. Once you learn how to make content and people start coming to you for you, yes, your photographs, but also for you, that's when you transition into merchandise and shit like that, right? That is when you
Yeah.
actually can get brand deals from like camera companies or whatever, you know, once people fuck
Yeah.
with you as a person. So that's a very, very big investment. And you know, why I asked video? Because Gary's been really emphasizing on TikTok. So if you made a J-Park TikTok or some shit, right? TikTok's on fire shit, you know. So you having
It blew
zero
the fuck
followers,
up.
you having zero followers, you can get thousands of views, and you can link up your Instagram and you can link up on YouTube. So even if essentially TikTok translates into followers on Instagram, it translates into
Yeah.
followers on
It's
YouTube.
just
You know?
another it's just like another road to lead you to
Yeah.
where you're trying to go with this.
Yeah.
So it's just more publicity, which is good publicity.
Yeah.
No matter what, it's still drawing attention to you at the end of the day.
And I feel like because you want to make an impact in the music, and this is something I feel like I'm good at for some reason. I'm just good at seeing possibilities in the weirdest ways.
Yeah.
I remember telling one of the artists how he can scale his music instead of like, you know, sending your music to one person each, like, hey, would you listen to my shit? Send it to like meme pages, send it to vloggers, like, hey, use my music for free. And if you do that with
Yeah.
multiple meme pages, you don't know what meme goes viral and your song gets picked up on. So even if I send it to say 100 people, and each of them have 100 followers, you know what I'm saying? Each of them, so 100 into 100 is 100,000. So we underestimate numbers like that. Like, oh, you know, this meme page just has 500 followers. But if you do that 500 times, of course, that's a lot. But you know, if you do it 50 times, that's 50,000 people potentially listen to your music. And for the person who's getting 10,000 views on a music video, that's a lot, you know? And potentially
Yeah.
if one of the meme goes viral, you know, so things like that. So for you as a photographer, I feel like it would be really cool if in Seattle, you like said, it's a place where a lot of music is emerging, and content has obviously been a very big part of the music industry, you know, scaling your Instagram pages and YouTube and all sorts of things. If there are guys who you know, you can write up a contract with a couple of artists, like, I'm gonna take 5%, I'm gonna take 10% of your income till I get like so many $1,000 or whatever your thing is, you know. That is
Yeah.
where you can, like, you know, like, you know, you will also be part of that journey from them making it big, because if you are invested in their career, you'll also push them as artists. You know what I'm saying? If you meet a new artist, you'll be like, hey, you know, listen to my boy, whatever. So
Yeah.
here,
It's that back and
and
forth. It's
you know
showing.
what I'm saying? And these guys,
Yeah.
if they are working to scaling their pages, somehow your name is also getting out everywhere because every post was captured by you. This is how you scale with artists. This is you being in the music industry. And you know what I'm saying? Like these 10
Yeah. Yeah.
people scaling you, where you're just scaling them. You're just providing your talent, but they're providing you so much more longevity.
You're just using your platform at the end of the day.
Right,
It's
right.
like,
You know what I'm saying? And you
yeah.
yourself have like 2,900 followers or whatever, you know. So you can always, you know, give these guys a boost because eventually all their income somehow is gonna translate to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like some label type of shit, but you're the photographer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something.
Look at you. Over here giving me hella game right now. Damn.
Yeah,
I
man,
love
I
it.
don't know what my talent is, but somehow I've been always able to figure out about the money thing. How does one get creative with making money where you're not trying to scam any of these people? They're never gonna, until and unless, no matter how great a singer you are, if your music video is not good, I hardly doubt how many people are gonna watch it. But if your
Exactly.
sounds good and if your music video is also kind of nice, you have a much better chance. So it's an investment they should be willing to make, because giving that 5 or 10% off and having 90% of a watermelon is way better than having 100% of a grape. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. True.
So you could do that. And what you need, if you help 10 artists, you need one of them to hit big. And the chances are
All
more
it
than
is,
one.
and that's what I say. Like how I treat the photo game, like this, how I'm trying to be in, like as a hip hop game. Like just as an artist is like one song away from like blowing the fuck
Yeah.
up, like that's how it is here too. Like you're literally one photo away or one connection away
Yeah.
to you catapulting like fucking miles and miles like to where you want to be at.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why it goes like always stay prepared with the things that you're doing. Like keep practicing what you're doing, keep
Yeah.
learning, stay active with it because once opportunity meets preparation, that shit it just starts a snowball
And I
effect.
feel
Now
like one of the
it's on the
biggest
go.
thing that's gonna be is if that is how you're moving, right? This is your roadmap to where you want to make it, right? This is how you're
Yeah.
gonna start. Is you're gonna get so much more respect as more than a photographer because you're helping budding artists. You're also making money off of this, so you're not doing fucking some charity shit. But how it's so smart for the both of you, and
Yeah.
that those are the kind of people now you'll attract. You'll not necessarily get people like who want you to be a photographer, but there will be people who want you on their team. Like, this is the kind of mind I want on my team. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So they'll start respecting you as an individual. Like you said, you're creating your brand. So
Yeah.
now it's a bigger vision than just yourself. You're just getting money from your gigs, but now, yeah, the gigs are important. You can use that as
Hmm.
networks and stuff, but it's very short term money. This is where your long term shit gets. It's something like
Exactly.
Dr. Dre did. Dr. Dre himself was obviously super big, but then he had Eminem, he had Snoop Dogg, he had so many other people. Once he had his Beats by Dre, the headphone thing,
Headphones.
he
Yeah.
put each of that pair of headphones on every one of his artists that he grew, and he had a percentage of them. And those headphones, it was the first $1 billion fucking hit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That shit's great. Like he's a fucking genius for doing that too. He literally the branding on that,
Yeah.
insane, and the marketing too. How they went through it.
Yeah. So
That shit's
that is
wild.
some leader type shit, like not regular people can pull off things like that. But you yourself
Oh
are so mentally in a great place and such a strong sense of self that these young artists might actually need someone like you. You might actually
no.
need
Damn.
some guy
Never thought of that.
introducing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you making fucking content and you documenting all of this shit is gonna be epic. Epic. And I mean, you're super good on camera. You're very well spoken. You're very articulate. All of these
Thank you.
things would, I mean, it's just gonna be nuts. It's a lot of work, but this is what is gonna like. You want that $190 million. These are the kind of moves. So not photographs are not gonna get you there, but you helping other
It's all
people
these other
grow.
things. Yeah.
You making these big mogul type moves and shit, I feel like is, and the more you do it, the more you'll get more clarity. Okay, how do I make it better? How do I improve? And
Yeah.
that'll just, and I feel like even if a person who understands that is your game plan, they would have so much more respect for you than if you're just doing something small, and they would make you hop on board to do even bigger things because they know that you can even comprehend things like this in the first place because most people can't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Damn.
Because you
I
said
love
the
it.
business
I love
side,
it
so
all. Thank you.
I just brought
You
that
gave
up.
me so much game right now. I love it.
Yeah, I just love shit like that. I feel like you as an individual, if you can build other individuals, that is what my game plan is. Like I don't even know what to
That's
bring to the
yeah.
table and stuff, but this is how I want to see people around me. Like if I have my core 5 people, those core 5 people are leaders in their whatever they're doing. That they're building other people up, and
Yeah.
that's how
That's
all our
true. It's
network
like
is
it's building
interrelated.
the people around you because it's like you can't really say you're successful if your people around you are still
Yeah,
struggling. It's like you got to use your platform and provide that lending hand to help in any way you can,
yeah,
and give them opportunity too. Just like opportunities were given to you, or how people led you through the door. It's just like Because in a sense, like once you reach those positions, you're now that person, and it's your duty. You're either gonna choose to move this way now or that way. So you can choose to give that lending hand or turn your back. And why do that? You know, because that just goes against everything to that point of when you were trying to come up. It's just like if you can't even help your own people.
Yeah.
Like,
so like you see all the small emerging artists in Seattle or wherever you live, close to that area, and you start hitting them up. Like, here, this is what I got for you. This is what I need in return. And so you become the guy who help artists you become the guy who gives these guys a platform and help them build.
It's like Cole Bennett with the videos when he started using Lyrical Lemonade and started bringing all these upcoming artists, and then they blow up because of the videos because he already had a platform. And
exactly.
Artists.
Yeah, but make sure that you actually really fuck with the artist as well, because somehow they'll have your name on them. That is when you're playing long term. If you don't like their music and if you don't even fuck with them as a person, I'm not sure if that's going to be a very good bet. No matter how.
It's not. You have to fuck with the person. Like that's the biggest thing too.
Yeah. And is it necessarily for all your artists to be in the same town as you are? Obviously, because they need to get photographed, right?
Mm-hmm. It's man. That's the thing. Like with these areas, like I've been seeing, like the music scene, like I'm telling you, it's starting to grow. Like just in Spokane, it's starting to grow just a little bit, but Seattle's the one. Like there's been so many artists coming out of the city right now, major things, and it's just like I want to be able to be in that scene and help bring it up too, because it's a team effort. Like I said, it takes a village to do all that, from the producers to the managers to the photographers, videographers, and everything I'm talking about. It's a team effort. It's all that building up an artist.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm over here saying that I want to do it just like say that I just take credit for it, but to me that's satisfying. Like, yo, like you were a part of history, part of culture.
Yeah.
Doing that, like that to me is just badass to be able to say, think about.
And if you document all this, something that really stays with me also is if you're documenting all of this and any of them do pop off and they don't give you credit, you have all this shit documented. So you might still have people who might, fuck up and do all sorts of shit that's there. Accept it and let go of it. It has nothing to do with you. But this is all a big credibility game, So that, therefore, it does not matter how many followers you have or how many people will watch this podcast. But it's so much about what is going behind the scenes. So a person who does need to watch this podcast, it's all documented for them to watch. You know what I'm saying? So.
And like going back to what you were saying, like when you say, "Oh, I don't know what I can provide," like I feel like you're providing a time capsule for a lot of people. You're providing a sense of a major information, because this is where people are going to start coming to this podcast, building community, to look for the ones that are doing, like, what is it that they're doing? Where were they at this point of their life, and what was the things that they were saying and talking about that got them to where they're at now? So in a way, you provide a platform of so much information for free. You think about it.
Yeah. I've learned it all for free. I genuinely learned all this from fucking Gary and Shark Tank. I don't know if you got Shark Tank, but all that stuff, But thank you I'm so sorry I took so much of your time. It's been so long, but thank you so much.
Don't even worry about it. What I do want to do though is take a quick screenshot of you so I can shout you out on my Instagram. So,
please. Okay, I'll do it really
put this vertical.
Yeah.
Can you put your screen vertical, or is it?
It's on a laptop, so it's a split screen.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So whenever you're ready.
Okay. Yay.
1, 2, 3. You got it.
Okay, man.
All right, wait. One more.
Okay, fine. Cool. We're good.
Ready?
Yes.
There we go. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Davika.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for allowing me to come on here and talk shit, speak my mind. Thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, I can't wait to see what you have in store for yourself as well, and what bigger things you end up doing.
Thank you,
with
man.
your
that
platform.
means a lot.
And if you ever need anything, you just want to talk, information, just hit me up. I'll shoot you my number, give you my Snapchat and everything too, so we can stay in touch. Because now I have a friend in India, which is fucking dope.
100%. What I want to do is we want to make sure that we stay in touch. And I don't know how we can collaborate in the future. I will. It's going to take me a while to edit this. One of the parts I hate in this whole process is editing. But once I
You're
do,
good. Take your time with it.
I'm gonna take a clip on Instagram and like just put it out there. But somehow I want to
Yeah.
see if we can collaborate on something. I know it's gonna be difficult, but if we can be creative about it or something, I
Yeah.
feel like that is something where I want to do where I can make my audience aware of you and you can make your audience aware of me. And I'm doing that with multiple people, so I'm trying to get more and more traction to what all of us, everyone who's been part of building community, been doing.
Okay, perfect. Let me know. I don't know how you're gonna like edit the video, but like if you want photos of my work so you can show throughout the interview, like while I'm talking.
Yeah, I can I
send
would
you
take
that.
them up from Instagram or something and just
Yeah, grab whatever you want. Let me
yeah.
know if you want the full resolution too, so I can send them your way. Just let me know what it is you want. I'll send it over in a Dropbox thing for you.
Okay, fine. That works.
Yeah,
Please stay in
perfect.
touch. Have a great New
Will do.
Year's.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much for coming on. I hope to speak to you soon.
We will. Don't even worry about it. Happy New Year. Much love always to you and your family, and I wish you a
Thank
happy.
you.
I'll talk
Thank
to
you.
you soon. Okay.
Bye.